Oh, hello, everybody. Everybody, hello. Welcome to a Copy That Whetstone Wednesday. The only Wednesday that happens to be Whetstone, or the only Whetstone that happens to be Wednesday. Never sure which.
It's the only copy podcast on the internet hosted by us at this exact time.
That's true. In this exact place, on this particular corner of the internet. If you are unfamiliar with Whetstone Wednesdays, it's where one or several of the folks here at Copy That, we, how should I say, get on stream. We review copy from patreon.com/the Copy That Show members that have been submitted to us. And we give critiques and let people know like how copywriting works and what's going on and how all that is going to go down, and also what people can do a little bit better. Here. Oren has decided to join me, and I figured that we would start the show with a little discussion about like what he's been doing, because he's a professional freelance copywriter. He is doing the thing that everybody, how many hours do you work a day? Well, I work a tremendous number of hours because I have an absurd work.
And I work
balance.
an hour a day from the beach.
That's true.
Like they always promised you could.
It sounds a bit like tinfoil talk.
Yeah, well, the real secret is that I think you actually mentioned this in a recent video that you put out, which is you can do that. It takes a bit of experience and skill to actually get there. It's not you learn copy and then the next day you're living on Easy Street. It was a hard grind over the last 7 years to get here, but I am very happy with where I ended up, and I have you to thank for it in a large part. So cheers to that.
Cheers. Yeah. So, can everybody hear me all right?
I can hear
how's
you just
fine. I know that. How are you guys doing? Can everybody hear us okay? I'm experimenting with mics and things like that. So. Yes, can hear. Yes, now, yes. Perfect.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Yeah, so Oren has an interesting story. We met at Agora Financial. We both wrote financial copy. He went off to be the copy chief of Al Sears.
I went to Banyan Hill first.
Banyan Hill.
Then copy chief for Al Sears.
Copy chief for Al Sears.
Then wrote for Golden Hippo, which has surpassed Agora as the largest direct response company in the world. Their founder, Craig Clemens, the greatest living copywriter. He's done over $1 billion in sales with his copy in like the last 10 years, which is not the full span of his copy career, which is pretty crazy. He was breaking records back in like 2008 when the dating gurus were really popular, and then he transitioned that into health when he launched Stephen Gundry's brand, and then now that's Golden Hippo's flagship brand. It does like, I don't even know how much they do in revenue. It's got to be close to like $500 million in revenue from that brand alone. And that's where I learned to write emails, because at Agora I never learned how to write a good email. Only ever learned long form copy, sales letters, VSLs, all that. So it wasn't until going to Hippo, which was the end of my like in-house career, because now like in-house jobs are a lot harder to come by, and freelancing kind of is the main path forward for most people. But actually, Golden Hippo has the best email team in the world. Like, it's not even close. And so that was kind of rounded out my my learning about copy, and now I can write good emails, as well as 80-page scripts. That's a webinar that's secretly an advertisement that seems to have value, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're just kind of on the hook, being teased for an hour and a half. But those days are pretty much behind us now. Nowadays, and Golden Hippo's a large part of why this is the current model. Nowadays, you have a lot more of actual value-driven advertisements where your time doesn't feel wasted, because you're actually like learning something or getting some valuable insight or knowledge. One example I love to give is Golden Hippo's dog food exposed VSL. It's actually, I learned everything I know about pet food from that. It's also my favorite VSL ever.
There you go. I just boosted the volume. There have been some people in chat saying that they can't really hear very well.
I can get closer to the mic.
Yeah, that helps.
Try not to get out of frame, but
but how's the volume now, guys? Can everybody hear everybody?
I can project too, if not.
Well, I mean, that's what you would do to your parents. That's more of a, it's more of a thing. So, sorry, volume. Anyway, so you left Golden Hippo, and I introduced you to a person whom you have been working with for the past several months.
Yes.
And it's because of that connection and you going freelance. This is your first time going freelance, truly?
Not 100%. When I first moved to Florida, between Agora Financial and Banyan Hill, there was like not quite a 6 month, maybe about a 6 month period where I did do some freelance projects for Hawthorne Pierce, which is my brother's company. So that paid the bills, and then January of 2021, I think, is when I started. March of 2021 is when I started at Banyan. So I was freelancing in the in between time. Banyan was great. It's unfortunate that the entire franchise collapsed, but it was a good time. I had some good promos and really liked the people I worked with there. One of my coworkers, whom you know, Mike Merson.
Yeah.
He's getting married in July, and I'll be going down to see him then, which would be nice. But I mean, it's been a wild ride, and I'm really glad that I wound up where I did, because I'm working less hours, I'm making more money. I have complete freedom. I don't feel bad when I have creative off days and I don't make progress on whatever project I'm working on, because I don't have any specific hours that I have to deal with.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm serving my clients that exist currently with meeting all of their needs, which as far as I know I am, it's a very chill lifestyle.
Do you mind if I share some details that you shared with me about that?
Oh, not at all.
So, just to give you guys some insight, because I introduced him to the person that he's working with right now and getting clients through, I checked in with him, I think this is the middle of April, and I was just like, Oren, how is it going? Now that he's gone fully freelance and doing more typical, what you would expect to do as a freelance copywriter: sales pages, landing pages, funnels, emails, things like that, editing copy, etc. And I asked him how he's doing, and he said, well, I made $6,000 the first week of this month, and I've worked maybe 10 hours. That was basically what you said.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I don't know how many of you have actually seen some of the shorts that I've put out on the Copy That channel, but one of the things that I often talk about is how, yes, these high-paying gigs are extremely accessible, but they are most often, not always, most often accessible to the people that have years of experience and a good pedigree, because that's when you actually have a lot of value that you can deliver. Oren has experience working for Angel Publishing, working for Agora, working for Golden Hippo, working for other health franchises. And so that breadth of experience allows him to basically tackle, you were doing work with other copywriting gurus, you've been doing work with a photographer.
Yeah, so my clients they're all over the place. The one guy is a drumming instructor, one woman is an art teacher, one woman is a professional genealogist. One guy, he's a barbecue master, and he has a whole YouTube about a whole product rather about how to barbecue the perfect brisket in your backyard without any fancy equipment. It's cool because I've had these different experiences writing different types of copy. I'm able to kind of apply the core, I've needed these same core principles, and it's the core principles that any copy guru will teach. I'm sure you've talked about them in basically all of your videos.
I don't like to do that.
Okay.
I don't like to actually teach stuff.
Okay, well, I do actually teach, and it's great. I love it.
One of the things that I do talk about, though, is that one of the best things to be is effectively trans niche.
Yeah.
If you are going to be a freelancer, it is a total mistake to go on being I'm going to be this kind of copywriter, because you are effectively cutting yourself off from not only opportunities, but also preventing yourself from learning and applying what you've learned to other possible things that can make you money.
Yeah, definitely. I think in today's market, especially with how cutthroat the industry is and how few and far between the actual in-house jobs are nowadays, and kind of how much the industry's contracted in the last few years due to regulators, COVID-19, etc. Really, we're in a position where the most successful copywriters would be the ones who are most adaptable and who can apply their skills to whatever the current client, whatever the current niche, wherever there's the most need for them is where they should go. Because really, a copywriter, what they're doing is applying systems and principles and ideas to any business, to any product, to any piece of any written piece, and it doesn't matter where your expertise is in. If you can apply that somewhere else, you can have a really strong, stable career. If you hyper specialize in one area, you might do really well in that one area, like financial copy, for example. But if you don't branch out, then you might be screwed when the stuff hits the fan. Like when Agora had their kind of like little collapse after Putin invaded Ukraine and the whole global economy felt the ripples. Like we saw, industry wide, like massive layoffs. Entire franchises were shut down, including mine. And it was the biggest franchise at Banyan Hill. 35 people laid off at once, and it wasn't because they're doing bad jobs, because they couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
So that put me in a position where I couldn't get another financial job, and I had to transition into a different niche. And I was very lucky that I actually knew Dr. Al Sears in person, and was able to convince him to hire me. But I know a lot of guys who they were struggling. They didn't branch out. They stayed in financial, and they had to take what they could get, and it wasn't good. Some people went. I know one girl. She doesn't even work in marketing anymore. She got laid off from Banyan, and now she's working as a pharmacy tech.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, it's it's good to be adaptable.
Yeah. Really quick. Emmy says, "Hey Oren, just wanted to say that I appreciate you mentoring me and helping me get into DR copywriting at Alciers."
Hi, Emmy. Emmy is one of my favorite copywriting mentees. She's really good. The first sample she sent me, I was like, wow, this is excellent. So she didn't need much mentoring from me. But yeah, when I was working at Sears, I had her write some emails for us. They're a cut above what the standard was there at the time, so that was awesome. And yeah, she's doing well as a freelancer too. I think she's been traveling around Japan recently and just like having a blast and working when she feels like it.
Nice. Pretty good life.
Yeah.
The AWAI promise.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Emmy, and hope she continues to crush it.
Nice. So we do have a question, and I hate this question not because of the nature of the question, but because of the word "the best." Anybody who watches our stuff knows that, like, anybody who asks a question with the word "best" or "should" or "ought," I immediately find that question distasteful, because there is no best. There is what works, and what works changes from person to person and context to context.
There's also lots of different things that work. There's no like one best way, because what worked for one person might not work for another person. But if you both end up with the job at the end of the day, then who could say which process was better?
Right. But I thought, for a change, I would actually answer truly, what is the best way to get an in-house job?
I think your answer would be different than mine.
Well, we'll see. So here's my answer. Meet and know the copy chiefs and publishers at these businesses and impress the hell out of them and basically leverage nepotism.
I would say that's pretty much the only way to get these in-house jobs these days. That's actually how I got my in-house jobs. Pretty much almost all of them. Actually, the only truly merit-based one that I got was Golden Hippo, which is interesting. I could have gotten into Agora Financial based on merit, but I was just lucky that my brother already had a working relationship with Joe Schriefer, and so I didn't need the merit. But yeah, I mean, my answer is don't go after the in-house jobs, because like you said, it's like nepotism is your best friend here. If you don't already have those ins, if you don't already know these people, if you aren't already writing copy copy of quality way above your experience level, you're probably not going to impress the hell out of these people. And you're fighting with hundreds of other people who want these jobs. And remember, people who have already succeeded in Agora can't get Agora jobs anymore. And that's just because there's a lot less budget to go around now.
Yeah.
But it, like Sean said, if you can impress them, and you certainly can, especially, I mean, Golden Hippo's hiring right now. They're hiring associate copywriters. You can apply, but they have a very stringent application process, then a trial period. They do a lot of vetting. Like, it is not an easy job to get, and once you get it, it's intense, it's really hard, and a lot of people just aren't cut out for it. I wasn't cut out for it, so I didn't stay, and I much, much, much prefer what I'm doing now.
Awesome. So there's a follow-up question. How do we go about talking to these people if they seem so out of reach? So, listen, a lot of people do cold outreach, and if you watch the interview that I did with Aaron Gensler, he tells you exactly how to do that. Another way to do this is through networking events, conferences, seminars. Like, there are tons of events all over the world. You know, Traffic and Conversions? That's a big one. MFA Live, Copy Chief Live. These all exist.
Financial Marketing Summit, AWAI.
Yep. And so going there, networking, and meeting these people in person is the other way to do that. And if you watch my interview with Pauline Longden, she talks about that extensively as well. And no excuse if you're from across the world. She's from Australia, so she actually actively saves her money and flew to America so that she could go to these events to network with people to actually get the jobs that she got. So, things to keep in mind. All right, we got a couple unrelated questions. When am I going to release that $5,000 course? I haven't decided yet. I was actually at lunch with him today, and we were just talking about it. And I might actually ask him to be like a coach inside of that program when I do eventually release it. Totally up in the air because... One, I actually have to clear with my legal department whether or not I'm allowed to make the promises that I want to make. Like, for example, is the legal department going to review 20 pieces of copy from people that, like, are freelancers all at once? They might be like, no, fuck you. So, I don't know. We will see. But I want to make sure that all my ducks are in a row before I even think about putting this together. How long did it take me to finish streaming the Offer Creation Masterclass? I only made it. I streamed for 7 hours on Saturday. It was 7 hours. And I think it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I basically taught everything that I know about making good offers, so there's that. Anyway, so is there anything else that you would like to share about freelance life or like your post in-house life that...
I think I got lucky in a lot of ways. That is to say, like, I found like a good like kind of niche to be in. Like, my main thing is I help people with growing social media, specifically YouTube, but people who have like medium to large social media followings, monetize them with copy. And that was like the perfect niche for me because I get to do chiefing, I get to do coaching, editing, reviewing, which is the stuff that I really like. And I don't actually really write much copy anymore. I do take on the odd client here and there and actually write some stuff for them. But primarily, it was a lot of luck. It was your introduction to the guy. And it was just like knowing what I wanted and then finding it and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to focus all my energy on. If I had still wanted to write like full scale, like promotional packages, sales letter, VSL, all of that, I probably could have done that. I probably could have pursued it, but it would have been for a fraction of what I was making before. And it would have been just a ton of stress, a ton of pain in the ass stuff, like going through the legal department. That's something I don't miss. I never have to do that now. I just tell people, here's how to make your copy stronger. Like, if they get sued, it's not on my head. Like, it's up to them to manage the compliance stuff, which is, you know, a really nice place to be in after, you know, spending those months and months like fighting with the Agora legal department. losing sleep over it.
God, I actually think somebody that I'm working with is actually in chat right now, Evan, and I wanted to do a very simple like test like 10 different hooks using like Facebook ads to see which hook gets the most clicks. And the Agora legal department was just like, all right, you're going to need to explain this concept to us in detail. Send us a memo. And then I did. And they were like, you can't do that. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean I can't do that? And then they were like, you need to actually have something on the other side of that click. And I was like, but like all these people, this is how they test ideas. And they were like, we do not care. And so I like, for this like very small thing, it became this enormous gargantuan project that required like all these different deliverables needing to be made just to meet like some bare minimum of compliance that nobody else has to contend with.
That does bring up kind of a good piece of advice for freelancers or aspiring freelancers, which is don't go after small clients, go after medium to large clients, because small clients, if they understand the value of copy, they won't be able to afford good copy. So really you want to focus on like those medium clients. Like my best clients are clients who have like 100,000 YouTube subscribers and they're trying to monetize that audience, not the ones who have 120 YouTube subscribers and are trying to build their channel from scratch. Now I do have both clients because,
money.
They're offering, they're offering to pay my rate, so I can't turn them down if they're going to do that. But if the client who is just starting his YouTube channel wasn't a medical doctor and couldn't afford, to pay my rate, like it would be a complete non-starter for me. Especially because the smaller clients, and it's fair for them to do this, smaller clients will a lot of times want you to like write on spec or, to pay you a small amount up front and then give you some sort of compensation like a royalty or bonus structure on the back end. But that's high risk for them and for you, and you're not necessarily guaranteed to get paid. The best people to target are those medium-sized businesses that can really benefit from copy, but don't like desperately need you to survive, and also can have some organic growth without copy as well. If you can find those, and they're on LinkedIn, they're on social media, they're at networking events. Those are the guys who go to networking events. The guys who want to hire freelance copywriters, they absolutely 100% go to conferences like the Financial Marketing Summit. I know you had John Knutson, the guy who throws those conferences on your... you did a podcast with him.
Well, the opposite. I was on his podcast. Yeah,
that was like last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so his whole thing, that's what he wants the outcome of the Financial Marketing Summit to be, is to hook up freelancers with publishers. That's his express goal. And as far as I'm aware, every single Financial Marketing Summit has yielded those results.
Yeah, it's true. That is where you would go if you want good financial marketing jobs. So, you mentioned that a lot of what you're doing recently is chiefing and editing copy and helping people with their copy. Yeah. So I have over here a list of 13 people who submitted copy today.
Yeah. Are they all in chat?
I do not know if they're all in chat, but the purpose of streaming these live is so that people can review the tape later and be like, oh, thanks for the notes, thanks for the edits, etc., etc. Yeah. People are making fun of how bald I am. He was making fun of how bald I am. Like at lunch today, I could just never get a break, man.
Sean said he was getting a quick haircut on his way to lunch. So I asked him when he got to lunch. I asked him if he had a good time at the bowling alley.
Because you polish the ball. Great. Anyway, let's see. I know it gets easier after the first few clients, but when does the client hunting end for freelancers?
It never does.
It never does.
It never does.
If you want to be a freelance copywriter, you are signing up to a feast and famine, kill or be killed, like eat what you kill kind of lifestyle.
Now I will hedge that a little bit with, if you get recurring retainers like monthly retainer, which a lot of medium to large businesses will do. Like if they like you, like a lot of them they'll give you like a trial project, and if you do well, then they'll put you on retainer. The best way to like really make a consistent income is to get multiple of those retainers. When you stack those retainers, then you can build like, living expenses, and then any clients you can take on top of that. that's kind of your get rich money, you know, like that goes to buying a house, a car, etc., investing, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, this person has been spamming this question in the Discord and in this chat. I'm not going to answer this question. This question is just not going to be, it's not specific enough. Research decks for fitness coaches. I mean, easiest thing to do would be to just put together a slideshow of like different bits of information presented to the fitness coach. But then I would have to question why. Why would you even do that? What would be the purpose of that? To what end would you do this?
What are you researching? Is
what
it
are you
customer
researching?
data?
I don't. There's so much I don't fucking know. Like, I can't answer your question because it's not specific enough.
I would hazard a guess that the average fitness coach doesn't really need a research.
It doesn't need a research deck. That's ridiculous.
It's not an investment prospectus. Like,
yeah. And also, like, you're not putting together like a strategy brief. Like, you're not putting together like a full campaign for a business, to the point where you would have to justify like the angles that you would want to take. For most fitness coaches, you're just, this is how you lose fat and put on muscle. Yeah. And also here's
how you do the exercise.
Yes,
here's
exactly.
how you diet. That's fitness.
There you go. Anywho, so are you picking copy from Patreon? That is all we do on Whetstone Wednesday. That is the whole point of this. And my answer to this might be different from yours. Thoughts on growing Twitter, any other social media to get clients consistently? I'm actually pretty anti-social media for getting clients, because I think for most newbies, it is a mistake to go for inbound marketing channels to get copywriting clients.
I agree for the most part. LinkedIn can be a good place to find clients, because it's not like traditional social media of like, this is for my friends and family, or I'm just sharing memes or, you know, personal photos. People actually are there to talk about business, to network, etc. So you can actually, like, I've had good leads from LinkedIn, but you'll do, if you create some sort of product, like info product or course, then yeah, you can get clients from social media. But if you're looking for straight up like basically business to business clientele, like you're not going to get them on Twitter, you're not going to get them on Facebook. Like,
yeah,
you might get them on LinkedIn, but probably not.
I think that you know, there are a lot of gurus who have been proponents of this, but the thing to keep in mind, in my opinion, is that a lot of these people, whom are they marketing? They're marketing to other newbie copywriters,
right?
And so it's like a snake that eats itself. You might know something about that.
I might know a little something about.
They can't even see your tattoo.
I don't know where the camera is.
The camera's right here.
Oh, nope.
Just showing people. There you go. There's the snake that eats itself. Yeah, and so the way to think about social media for me, in my opinion, I could be wrong about this, and I'm sure that there have been plenty of people who have contrary examples. You use social media as a point of cred, as something where it's like, if you're applying for jobs or if you're reaching out to people, if somebody searches your name and like you come up on LinkedIn and you look credible, there you go. That's it. That's the whole point of something like that. The point is not to like put out a bunch of materials to like get other newbie copywriters to follow you, and then it's just like this human centipede of newbie copywriters following each other.
I know people who are in that human centipede currently.
Yeah,
it sucks for them.
And it sucks for them, and it's a trap. And like the best way to use content on X or like LinkedIn, in my opinion, if you are ready for inbound clients like that, would be to actually put out material that helps entrepreneurs and business owners in the niches that you specialize in. So like, for example, if you specialize in marketing for pool table manufacturers, you want to be putting out content that says, if you're trying to sell fucking pool tables, man, you're doing it all wrong. Here's 10 things that I've learned about selling pool tables after 13 years of doing this. Like, that makes you look really credible. That is going to get you clients in the pool table selling niche.
Especially if you cold email every pool table manufacturer, and then when they see an email from you, they're like, oh, I'm going to look this guy up. Who is this guy? Because you sent them a very like compelling, well-written cold email, and they look you up. Oh, it's like, oh, this guy, he's an expert in selling pool tables. This is exactly who I want doing my marketing. And then they'll be very inclined to hire you.
Yep. Let's see. if you are already subscribed to the Patreon, what you would do is you would make sure that your Discord account is linked to your Patreon account, and then you would wait for me to basically call out on the exclusive critiques channel in our Discord, and then you would just post a link to your copy and make sure that it adds some context, and that's what you do. Anywho, so let's just jump right ahead and actually start looking at some copy that was submitted to get reviewed. Let's do Chrome tab. Sexy webinar emails from a negative 4-figure copywriter. I like this person already.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so I'm going to read this for the sake of the visually impaired, because I'm cool like that. All right. Disclaimer, this is practice email. The company and the webinar are real. Writing one email for each webinar sequence. Sign up or sing up. Before a webinar, day of webinar, follow up. Company is Miro. It's a flowchart building app. Okay. Really quick, I like what this person is doing. They're practicing with a real product out there. They're looking at their funnel and they're going like, okay, how can I write something that's in their funnel or that would fit into that funnel but be different or perhaps be better? That's very good practice because then you're actually doing something tangible and that you can research. So I like that. So a basic avatar description is 35 to 50 years old. You know, somebody who's really into flowchart building. Product manager. Great. Very specific. Love it. Responsible for leading development and execution. Okay. Webinar name. Discovering critical user needs for impactful products. Get hands-on with tools to uncover critical user needs, understand user tensions, and distill lasting value for successful products. Webinar detail page. Here, let's very quickly look at this. Share this tab instead. Okay. So we would call this either a webinar sign-up page, an opt-in page, or a hot list sign-up page. Don't get caught up on the terminology. Like, it's pretty much all interchangeable. But here we go. I can already see a few things that we could potentially improve there, but let's see what this person did to improve. So, some focus questions. Should B2B companies play safe and write generic subject lines that everyone uses, like feedback required or registration confirmed, etc.?
Hell no.
Well, that depends. You can certainly switch it up to boost response, but I will be completely honest with you. The best open rates and the best click-through rates that you're going to see are for those sorts of functional emails where it's just like, thank you for signing up, or like registration complete, or account attention required. Those sorts of emails have the highest open and click-through rates. I've seen the stats on this. I've seen the proof, and it seems brain dead, and like it might be good to like stand out a little bit, but oftentimes you don't really need to stand out.
For the functional emails, I agree. For anything that's not like an expected like registration confirmed type of email or thank you for signing up, like anything that's not expected, anything that's on, you know, part of a newsletter or a random, semi-random send, like intrigue is the thing that gets the most clicks. Pure intrigue. You're not selling the product. You're not even selling the contents of the email. You're just selling the click, and you do that with intrigue.
Really quick, we have a question. This is not related, but I think that this is an interesting question. Okay, so really quick. Can you make it part of your offer or contract the fact that you won't be held liable for compliance? No. Legally, no. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. That's like basically saying, like, listen, I want to have an employment contract with you, but in that employment contract, I'm going to say that if I do any illegal shit, you're the one who goes to jail. You can't fucking do that. You can't do that. And so, like, no.
Well, the thing that protects you from the compliance stuff is having your LLC or your business entity. That's specifically what it exists for.
Yeah, and it really doesn't make sense to have one of those until you're making at least $80,000 to $100,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's only at that level where anybody would even consider going after you for something. So I wouldn't even worry about it. There's also a clause, I believe. Check me if I'm wrong, but you can look this up. It's called a hold harmless clause, which basically says that there's like a list of things that you cannot be sued for, but like that's for basic functional things, and like again, you're still liable if you break the law, but there's certain things that you can stipulate, and that's something that you would want to look up for and like consult with somebody on Legal Shield or LegalZoom with.
Best practice is to err on the side of caution when it comes to compliance.
Absolutely. In my opinion, I agree. All right. So we'll look at the first 2 emails of this particular funnel, unless this person has specific questions. So there's the sign up email, and then there's the before the webinar email. So sign up for the webinar. So this person just registered for the webinar. So they put in their email, and this is the first thing they're getting. Send email right after. This is a welcome email. Idea, thank them for registering. Offer, remind them why they signed up and how this can benefit them. Okay. And then the action is link to save calendar date. Okay, very simple CTA. Love it. Subject line. Thanks for registering. Discovering critical user needs for impactful products. Right off the bat, that's a terrible subject line.
Yes. It's bad grammar. It's not exciting. It's not intriguing. You'd be better off just saying thanks for registering.
Yeah, thanks for registering is fine enough. Another thing too is like I'm not a huge stickler for subject line like character limits, but there is a limit to how many characters your subject lines can actually show. I believe depending upon the client, it's between what is it, like 25 and 50?
I'm not sure about character limits, but the customer data we looked at Sears showed that the ideal word length for subject lines is going to be 6 to 10 words in a subject line. I more in the range of like 7 to 8.
6, 7, 8
like ideally,
9, 10.
8 would be perfect.
If they're short words.
Yeah, under 5, you're gonna get less clicks, and over 10, you're gonna get less clicks. If this subject line was at least properly written in terms of grammar, it would be okay. But first of all, I don't like this title at all. Discovering critical user needs for impactful products.
I don't know how much say this person has.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a say, and if you're just selling a product that already exists, like it's still one of the creative heavy lifting things you can do that moves the needle, that sets you apart, that makes big sales, is by finding ways to focus on the positives and kind of like hand wave the negatives away. So like if you have a bad name, well, you wouldn't mention the name much, but you focus on the benefits of the product and just never even mention the name. But it's a long, boring name.
Yeah, I mean, my joking response would be to call it the dick you nip.
That's better.
It's not better. Do not call it the dick you nip. Yeah, thank you for registering. Bracket important details inside. Preview text like, let's get flowcharting. Just be simple. Call out what you're doing. Call out what this is. Hi, first name. Thank you for registering for the upcoming webinar, Discovering Critical User Needs for Impactful Products. The event is scheduled for Tuesday, April 23rd at this time. And here's a calendar link so you can save the date and link to the webinar. And the link to the webinar. Link. We'll also send you a bunch of emails right before the webinar starts, so you won't miss it. Now is a great time to whitelist our email and... All right. What do you think so far?
I fell asleep halfway through the second sentence. And then I was daydreaming.
What about?
About how to write better emails.
So what's going wrong here?
Well, the biggest issue for me is that it sounds like you're reading the news, right? It's just like, here's information. Here you go. Here, have some info.
Yeah.
Here you go. That's not what copy is.
Yeah.
Copy is you're instigating an emotional response from sharing something that directly benefits the reader to the point where it transforms their life. So you're not making any kind of promise here. You're not sharing any kind of benefits.
Yeah.
You're simply passing along information, which is not engaging, it's not interesting, it's not exciting, and it doesn't make sales.
Yeah. To yes and that, let me put it this way. Nobody needs to hire a copywriter to write like this. A copywriter is not needed for this. You can find this like in auto-generated from a lot of.
You don't even need AI. Like
you don't even need AI.
You can just Google a template for for an email.
Whatever this is, for a welcome email. And so the important thing to keep in mind with welcome emails, if you are going to use them as practice for copywriting, make sure that it makes sense to apply the principles of copywriting. Now, some clients will prefer this. I've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. And there are other ways around that. Now, like, for example, one thing we can do is trim this down and turn it into bullets at the top of the email and say, thank you for registering for this upcoming webinar. And then you'd have indent, bullet, bold, what, colon, the Discovering Critical User Needs for Impactful Products webinar. When, date, why, so that you get, this benefit. And then how, click this link at this time, or, and then you give the calendar link. I think it's an ICS file is what it's called. And then right there, like, you just massively trim down the amount of space this is going to take so that you can jump over this logistical boring stuff right into the real meat of, like, what will compel somebody to show up. That's just an example of how you can, like, if you have a client who's just like, well, I need this sort of stuff at the top. That's how you compress it and then move on to what's really impactful.
I love that formatting idea, and I think even with that format, you can fit right at the top line. You can fit a benefit even before you get into the bullets. Like, thanks for registering for this webinar. I can't wait to show you how much time you can save using this app, or I can't wait to show you how it's going to transform your workflow.
Yep.
You always copy really, it resonates when you start out making a big promise that is really, really going to give the customer or the reader what they want.
This way.
And then you prove it over and over and over again with tons of different types of proof.
Yeah.
Is Mark Ford the one who said make one promise and prove it 1,000 times?
I don't know, actually.
It's some old copy saying that. My general thought is, when in doubt, Mark Ford probably said. So.
He was one of the OGs.
Yeah. So you always really want to start with what's in it for me. Like any piece of copy, because subconsciously that's what the reader cares about. They want to know what's in it for them, and if they see that, that's going to keep them reading.
So the avatar is 35 to 50. I think they would prefer something simple like this for a flowchart building app. And here's where I would completely disagree, because nothing that we've said is unsimple.
Yeah.
Everything that I just said is simpler than what's here and includes benefits baked in. So why would you do this thing that you wouldn't even need to hire a copywriter for, instead of finesse and thinking about how to communicate all this information in a much tighter space and in a way that is going to increase the show up rates? Because let me tell you something about webinars that I learned from doing too many webinars. Your amount of money from a webinar or any sort of launch campaign is going to be contingent upon how many butts you can get to show up in seats. And so everything that you do in every single email leading up to the webinar has to be monomaniacally focused on that goal. Convince this person to show up. That's the goal. How much of this is convincing somebody to show up?
None of it.
None of it. So, and then here we have some features. Here's what you'll see. This email needs a little bit of work. I would go back to the drawing board on this and like rethink and retool how you approach it to be, how should I say, a little more lateral, a little bit more benefit driven.
So I actually think that in these bullets, they're almost the proper format. Like this first one, improve product management skills for making decisions fast. That is a good format of you'll accomplish X goal with Y benefit, which works for bullets in general. It could be more, you could make it sexier for sure. But format-wise, it's good. And this would be the kind of thing, you wouldn't have to completely rewrite these bullets, but you can punch them up very easily.
Yeah. Here's a quick tip for everybody if you want to very quickly punch up your bullets and make them less boring. Use imperatives. So after completing the webinar, these are some of the things that you'll have. Or like, here's what you'll get. Or here's what you'll see. It doesn't matter how you introduce it. And then in the beginning, instead of improved product management, you'll get better product management skills for making decisions faster, or even just like get faster decision making skills. It's that imperative, the get, improve instead of improved, gain deeper understanding of user needs, master the ability to draft compelling value propositions on demand.
And all of those have one thing in common, which those are actions, which are exciting. Information is boring. Action is exciting.
Yes. So there you go. So let's look at one more email from this particular webinar sequence. So this is the email that comes out before the webinar. A person is registered for the webinar. They send the email before the webinar starts, a few days or a day before the webinar. Idea is to hype up the webinar. Okay, we're trying to get butts in seats. Remind them why they signed up and how this can benefit them. Okay. Subject line, how important are critical user needs to you?
I don't know. 6 out of 10. Next email.
Yeah, so this subject line doesn't work for me because your subject lines need to either be very benefit driven, like truly benefit driven. And by benefit driven, I mean like this person innately wants this thing that you're talking about. Or it needs to be fascinating and intriguing, convincing them that they want to see what's on the other side of the click. Useful information baked into important details inside, that's intrigue based. Thanks for registering, see inside for the details, that's intrigue based. Because what is that subject line missing? It's missing those details that the email has. Okay. This is not intrigue based.
And it's not benefit.
And it's not benefit based.
So there's the easiest change would be to, make it about how is the webinar going to impact your critical user needs? Like, is it gonna show, like, can you use it to say, streamline or level up or master critical user needs, something like that. It's the benefit that they're going to get from the webinar about critical user needs, which I'm having trouble like formulating the words because it's such like a bad phrase. It's like, it doesn't really work in copy, but it's like you think like if critical user needs are important to them, then how is this webinar going to impact that in their business or in their day-to-day?
Here's a very quick and simple way to either be benefit-driven or intrigue-driven. Let's go up to your avatar. Avatar description, product manager. Okay, let's go down to the email. Subject line. Time to level up your product management. Boom, done. It's phrased as a challenge, and that's benefit-based, leveling up. And it's calling out specifically to the avatars that you want to show up in the first place. People love looking into a mirror, and so that subject line is going to get opens from the ideal audience for this particular email.
Another option would be like how to easily find out what your critical user needs are. You could use that for the preview text. You could use it for the subject line.
Yeah. So, hi, first name. Want to have a successful product that brings you huge profit every quarter? Well, you're in luck. The webinar, the name of the webinar, will go the dick you nip.
The webinar that shall not be named.
The webinar that shall not be named. We'll go over how you can easily identify and optimize your products for critical user needs. I don't actually understand what this sentence is saying. We'll go over how you can easily identify and optimize your products to critical user needs.
I hate that phrase.
I legitimately, this is just confusing to me. One of the reasons why is you can easily identify, and another verb, your products, to prepositional phrase, and then a noun.
Yeah.
That doesn't strike a chord with me.
So like,
Yeah.
this would be a perfect example of when not to use the webinar name. If
Yeah.
you don't have control over that, you'd say something like, "Tomorrow's webinar will show you how to easily identify
This.
and yeah, optimize whatever." Because I hate that. I hate the name and I hate critical user needs, and I understand that this copywriter is just pulling from like source material and they're trying to apply this to a formula, but the real strength of a copywriter here will be finding ways around these awful like buzzwords and jargon and like corporate double talk, because that stuff it's boring to the people who like read it every day. And if you want to get their attention, if you want to keep their attention, you have to sound different than like these memos that they're reading and these like work emails that talk in these terms.
Sort of on that note, I think that there's a sort of pervasive belief that, you know, if you're speaking to other businesses or other vendors, that you need to always be like super serious and like super this. One of the best selling like actual social media ads for like selling marketing services to financial analysts, like actual like in-house financial management companies. The whole premise of the ad, the hook of the ad was this, where this woman appears out of like this huge room that's just filled with balloons. And all she's doing is popping out of the balloons and saying like, "Are you sick and tired of not having enough assets under management? Well, I worked as an investment manager for this many years before I switched into marketing for investment managers." And like, it was exciting, it was compelling, and guess what? She was selling to like
fun.
It was fun, and it was selling to serious professionals. And so, and it did really, really well.
Yeah, there's not to take business away from you or myself, but there's a great copy guru out there, Laura Belgray, and she's hilarious. She on her homepage, she has one of her ads is like, "Learn how to write copy that twerks all the way to the bank."
I don't know if I would add twerks to this email, but
Right.
I hope you all get the idea of what we're trying to do.
The point
here.
is, it makes sales. You can be fun, you can be cheeky,
Yeah.
you can be humorous.
Listen, nobody wants to go to an HR meeting. And if you write like this, it feels like you're inviting people to an HR meeting. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. But don't take our word for it. Here are some of the successful attendees from previous webinars. And then picture, and then testimonial and name.
Successful. So they attended successfully.
So you want to define, when you do this, you want to define what success is. Is it making more money? Is it growing the revenue of a business? Is it like, you know, streamlining, how should I say, processes such that you can do the same amount of work with half the number of people? Like, name the benefit that you're trying to communicate here. Actually call it out, because that is ultimately what is going to get people to show up. So I don't know if we need to read any more, but hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this was insightful. The one thing I want to caution you, though, the person who wrote this, is be careful about going too far on the other end of the pendulum swing. Because I've seen a lot of copywriters who write like this, and I'll give them advice, and I'll say, like, listen, you write boringly. And then they revise, and then all of a sudden their copy is just like, "Are you ready to add some pizzazz to your HR department? Are you ready to blow your manager's mind with flowcharts?" You temper that and try to land somewhere in the middle. You're ultimately speaking to human beings, and you need to show what's in it for them to get them to show up to the webinar. And that's your goal here. So hopefully that helps. Do you feel like that's enough comments on this?
Yeah. I mean, this clearly very early in the learning process, and you know, it helps to have those, to get those reps in, because you know, every time you take a stab at it, the next one will be better.
Yeah. And so, like, don't take this as criticism. It's just, hopefully we're giving you guidance to help you get better. But yeah, if anybody has any, how should I say, questions or want elaboration on that, let us know. But hopefully that was helpful and insightful for everybody watching. Okay, we have first VSL ever, and this is 14 pages. We'll read the lead, maybe. But for context, this is a solution-aware young adult to middle-aged audience looking at a career in public speaking. Is public speaking a career?
If you're like maybe like head of PR for a large company, you maybe like speak in public. Like if you're a PR manager, maybe.
Yeah, PR person.
Or I'm sure like
Job in media.
If you worked as like a news anchor, or if you had a YouTube channel, for example.
Yeah, so like my immediate question is like, looking at a career in public speaking, my recommendation would be, well, we'll get into the actual meat and then we'll figure out like whether this targeting is correct.
Yeah.
They came to the VSL through an email. They've already been convinced that schools are the #1 way to start their careers in the emails. All right.
So is this an ad for a school?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Market focuses a lot on fast, but not very much easy, if I recall correctly. So I'm guessing that other similar competitors are writing in such a way that like the angle that they use is to like get good at public speaking fast, as opposed to get good at public speaking the simple way or the easy way. All right. Usually programs are high ticket, and there seems to be a good amount of price objection.
Well,
that would make sense.
Easy.
Yeah. Some just tell newbies to join Toastmasters and get reps in.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, my grandmother went to Toastmasters to learn public speaking. It's a true story. So if you're writing to boomers, tell them to go to Toastmasters.
I told one of my clients to look at Toastmasters copy recently.
How old was this client?
I want to say mid-30s, but it's because
Boomer.
they had a component in one of their products that had to do with public speaking. So I think I was telling them to look at Toastmasters' website just to get an idea of how to talk about it.
Got it. So the idea is that I'm already dreading. The only way to get all three of the key components to a successful career is through me, the guru. Offer is £600 info course plus private community. No push to order form, just a sales call for now. Okay. Aspiring public speakers. It only takes 4 weeks to master the flagship client speaking system. And then, okay. And
We say like the Bob Johnson speaking
The Bob
system.
Johnson speaking system. Got it. I guess maybe Rob Johnson? Rob Johnson. It only takes 4 weeks to master the flagship Haywood Jablomi speaking system that I use to land $5,000 speaking engagements. I actually kind of like this headline, but
It's not awful.
It's not awful, but I also suspect that I'm the one who came up with this.
I would just like kind of invert that a little bit to say master the blank speaking system that I use in just 4 weeks. Like I'd have the in just 4 weeks at the end of that, and start with the mastering.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's like almost like this is like a twist. So you either have the imperative master the flagship
That's where I would start.
Dirk Diggler speaking system that I used to land $5,000 speaking engagements ... in just 4 weeks. And so, ultimately, like, I don't know if that's going to make a huge difference, though. Like, that feels like a whisper, not a scream.
I think I agree that it's kind of like a minor change, but it only takes 4 weeks. That's not a particularly engaging intro to me.
But I've definitely seen that template before,
Okay.
like a million times.
Okay,
It
fair.
only takes this amount of time to master the piano. Have you started yet? Things like that.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
No, that's fair.
In my headlines, and I know like a lot of headline changes tend to be pretty minor because it's an expression of an idea, and the strength of the headline is really if that idea is good or not.
Yeah.
But I think about like immediate visual impact. Like, what's the very first thing they're gonna see? Like, what's the first 2 to 3 words they're gonna read?
Do you want it to be it only, or do you want it to be master?
I want it to be master personally.
Yeah.
And I want to get to that like promise of you can like book these $5,000 speaking engagements as quickly as possible. It only takes 4 weeks to do something. To me, that's like, it's almost like I'm reading a story, or I'm like, this is indicative of I'm gonna have to like dig deeper to find out what this is talking about. Whereas I want my readers to come to a page, immediately know what they're in for, and then start digging deeper after that.
Fair enough. Guys, did you know that copy was subjective, and that at a certain point, like, everybody's going to have different opinions about stuff?
Not me.
Not me.
I think the same as everyone.
Oh, fair enough. No, I think that I'm just always right. So there you go.
Well, in my experience, you are.
There you go. And you won't even need to spend hours studying complicated frameworks or spend thousands of pounds. So this is for an English audience. So we're talking to shy people with stuff.
Or a very fat guy.
Ha. What do you think of this deck copy?
It's not bad. I would just tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, I would
smooth it out.
Here's what I would suggest: write 50 different versions of this deck copy. Like, try to articulate either the same or different ideas or different primary benefits in different ways, with different wording and different articulations. You can even probably have ChatGPT help you with this, and just look at iterations and try to feel out which one feels more compelling, more novel, more engaging. But personally, that's the way that I learned, which was just like actually sitting down and like trying to think of like hundreds of different ways to word the same thing.
In the Stone Age, before ChatGPT existed.
Yeah, back in the dark ages before ChatGPT
2010.
Yeah, pretty much.
One thing you could do here, you could just do it in bullet points, like no more spending hours, no more hours wasted, no more studying complicated frameworks, no more spending thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
And then you get right into the copy from there.
And that would be another example of a way to articulate the same idea. Not only is it rewriting the same sentence, but it's also, like that previous welcome email, trying to think of different formats and different ways to communicate the same information. So, things to keep in mind. Now, Oren, we both know why you're here. You want to become a highly paid speaker, just like I did 13 years ago. Back then, so it's interesting that you said this insinuates a story and that we are immediately jumping into a story. So I like that cohesion there. Just saying. Back then, I went to seminars, attended events, read books, anything you could possibly think of. At that time, I did everything I could to try to become competent. I don't know if that's the right word there, but that's a small thing. It was only after 2 whole years of grinding that I felt my career rise to a whole new level. I don't know if that's the right verb either. Oh, I guess it would be a noun in that particular case. For the next 11 years, I spoke at hundreds of venues to tens of thousands of people. This is a small, subtle thing. As you start to get into copy, especially spoken VSL copy, once you get into like 13 years, 2 years, then 11 years,
people are trying
speaking
to do
to tens
mental math.
yeah. Listen, people understand precisely 5 numbers. These are the only numbers that they understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, and many. And so once you start throwing a bunch of numbers out in sequence, I know you're trying to be specific and tell the story, but here's another way to do it. Just like I did 13 years ago. Okay, specific, great. It was only after years of, and then insert a different word, years of grinding that I felt my career rise to a whole new level. For the next decade, I spoke at hundreds of venues to tens of thousands of people. Do you see what I did there? I just replaced some of these numerical words that people now have to have an abacus in their head to keep track of, and I just replaced it with words that communicate something more immediately. And that's something that you want to keep in mind. A lot of what you're trying to do with copy is communicate an idea immediately.
So this could again be down to personal preference, but they're getting straight into building that credibility, which is good and important in copy. but there isn't really much of a promise before that. Like,
Yeah.
you're not saying, here's how, like, I'm going to show you how to become a highly paid speaker. They're just saying, you want to become a highly paid speaker. So it's not clear here to the reader that they're actually going to get the information they need to become a highly paid speaker.
So that, and this is an interesting thing. This is something that I've noticed a lot in English, European, and Japanese copy. And the reason why is because it is very difficult in those markets to make direct promises. Not only is it culturally insensitive, but also typically what you'll find is that, like, a lot of the audience, the moment you make direct promises, they're like, ew. It's a weird cultural thing. And so, like, I don't balk at that here because I've seen enough copy written to an English audience to know that this is just something that they do. It's something that you might want to test or, like, see if you can make it work, but ultimately, like, if you understand, like, that English, like, aversion to direct promises, this is okay.
Yeah, I guess that would also help the headline as well if it's trying to avoid making a direct promise. You're not saying I'm going to show you how to do this in 4 weeks. You're saying it only takes 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Implying that you can show it, but I hate implying stuff in copy.
Yeah, it's one of those difficult things where it's like, because I write so much for, like, European and Japanese audiences, like, it's like a toggle that I have to switch on and off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know you told me in the past, like, the Japanese copy is very, very different.
Yes. Oh, yes. So, honing my craft and constantly getting better. And today I make over 6 figures per year, working X number of hours per week, making up to, I make over 6 figures per year. So I would rearrange the sentence, and today I make over 6 figures per year, sometimes as much as 7,000 pounds in a single day. And then I would do a line break, and guess what? I only have to work X number of hours per week. So that's something that I would keep in mind. Like, the way that you have it here, going implied dollar promise to time sunk promise to, like, another dollar promise, it's confusing to me. Just simply breaking it up, I think, would improve it. Speaking is incredibly lucrative, but there's a problem. You've gone online looking for ways to hone your craft and get your first gig. It seems like this person has actually done a fair amount of, like, market research.
If they're trying to avoid leading with a direct promise, they could potentially lead with this problem. For me, that is a little more engaging than just talking about how great the guru is.
Yeah.
Because generally, it just comes off as, like, a little bit like, I'm better than you, if it's not, like, directly tied into proving, like, why they can help you with this thing.
Yeah. So, just to interpret the advice that Oren just gave, you would take this, like, starting with a problem that people have experienced, and you would lead with that, and then, like, put it here, like, right up here, rather than keeping it. This is what we would call burying the lead, where the thing that might actually hook people better is a little bit buried down.
This is how the reader knows that this is relevant to them, and, like, that you're able to solve their problem. Because you can't solve their problem if you don't know what their problem is. Yeah. But if you have a very strong, if you're able to articulate their problem better than they are, they're gonna be super fucking sold.
And just to agree with Tanya a little bit, like, that allows for that instant gratification to happen, because the promise, the implied benefits, come after you've already spoken to the problems that they are experiencing. So that little functional edit might actually go a very long way towards making this a little bit more streamlined, a little bit better. So just to hear carpet bomb with generic useless advice, be confident, connect with your audience, practice, practice, practice. If I had a penny for every time, wouldn't it be a pence? If I had 1 pence. If I had 1 pence for every time. That's how British people talk. That's how Alex...
They all speak like Oliver Twist.
Exactly, the little Lord Fauntleroy. That's how Alex talks. If I had 1 pence for every time someone said that, I wouldn't have to work for the rest of my life.
You sound like Stewie Griffin doing his cross-dressing.
That's actually exactly what I was going for.
Okay.
Today, I want to share with you the 3 uncommon tactics that will get your speaking career off the ground in record time. I think for me, before we get here, one thing that I need is like some call outs specifically to what a speaking career entails. You could be as simple as like a series of 3 to 5 bullets right here, right there, where you say, it doesn't matter if you want to go into politics, it doesn't matter if you want to start a YouTube channel, it doesn't matter if you want to, actually we got a very good comment here. Many religious scholars are public speakers and earning most of their income for that.
Like a pastor or something.
Exactly. If you want to become a more effective pastor or imam or what have you, then this is the message for you, because today I want to share with you the 3 uncommon tactics that will get your speaker career off the ground.
Yeah, that's a really good addition. You're just throwing some bullets right there, and yeah.
Like, and specifically call out bullets, like whom this could benefit, like what they want to be.
And it works even better if we've moved this up to the top of the page as well.
Absolutely.
Because then we're calling out the specific avatar, like on the first page. And that the reason you do that is because people who are potentially going to give you their money, they're going to stay and they're going to keep reading because you've made them feel seen and heard, and they know that this is for them. The people who it's not for, they're going to leave because they know it's not for them, and they're not going to buy anyway, so you don't care that they're gone.
Exactly. So it's like just simply defining what a speaking career is going to go a long way towards improving this.
Definitely.
Most of the common advice can be answered with how. Just watch. I mean, we already.
Yeah,
we already
a rehash.
Go over this. Okay, so we're just going to cut off there. Like, will this live stream be put behind a paywall? No. This is a Whetstone. This is a real Whetstone Wednesday, and Whetstone Wednesdays are when we review copy. And the Whetstone Wednesdays that we've done in the past, they're all available for free. We've done 50 of them.
Ooh.
At this point. A lot. We haven't done 50. We've done a lot. We've done dozens. But they're all available. You can watch all the ones in the past, replay the tape, etc., etc. We give a lot of advice for free that would normally be behind a paywall. So there you go. But you can watch this forever. So, yeah, I'm going to stop there. Like, what this lead needs is simply restructuring. And after you do that restructuring, then it's going to give you more clarity. And what you don't want to do once you've restructured stuff is start repeating yourself. What you want to do is sort of think in terms of like, have I done everything in this lead to address the what's in it for me? Have I sort of like left a trail of breadcrumbs to sort of infer what we are going to be talking about? Have I already established what like the main benefit is for sticking around for this? Giving people a reason to watch the rest, etc., etc. Once that is all dialed in, I think this is going to be a little bit stronger. But I can already tell that starting from here, the actual battle-tested speakers, such as myself, don't usually give out our methods. After all, our courses can fetch over 10,000 pounds. But no matter how much you know about speaking, you'll never succeed quickly without actually speaking and getting your presentations reviewed. So here's actually an opportunity to establish an open loop. Rather than here, listen, if a person comes in here and within the first minute you say the thing that separates bad speakers from good speakers is getting their speeches reviewed.
Okay.
Thanks. Click off. Bye. All right, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Done. So like that's what open loops are for. It's for establishing a reason to hear the rest and to get filled in on more information. And so, again, like, the thing that this is struggling from the most, like, the copy is okay. Maybe a little tepid, maybe it could be cleaned up a little bit better, some wording choice things, subtlety of language things, but none of that is important until the structure is right. And so, fix the structure, and this is going to be a lot stronger.
Yeah, this person clearly has an okay idea of what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're definitely further along in the learning process than the last piece of copy we looked at. And there's promise here. Like this, yeah. I could see this working, after a couple rounds of editing.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I actually think that the person who wrote this is like 16 years old.
Oh, wow. That's really promising.
Yeah, really promising. So, like, if you're at this level already, then you're well on your way.
Just imagine what you'll be writing like in another 16 years.
Probably
better
worse.
than me. Oh. so worse.
All right, we're moving on to the next one. John. So John has been with us for a long time, too.
Okay.
His copy has absolutely exploded in terms of quality. Hold on.
I see one from Oren. That's accurate.
Daddy needs a refill. Okay, yes. Accurate. Oop. Oh. Cheers.
We're drinking straight out of the bottles, guys.
No, we are not. Don't lie. We can't be misleading. The FTC will annihilate us. Whoa.
Do they have specific regulations about lying about drinking?
Yes. Yeah. They've released a whole memo about it. When you're working on a piece of copy for a client, what do you think are the most important factors I should focus on before I put any words down? You want to have a very strong idea of like the research and what the audience wants. You want to have a very strong idea of like what the offer is going to be. You want to have a very strong idea of like what your competitors have talked about so that you can actually frame things as unique or different. What else?
Those are definitely like the most important things. Also just having just a clear idea of what the actual project is. Like, what if you're writing an email, what's the structure of that email? If you're writing a sales letter, what's the structure of that sales letter? Having these like knowing how much you need to write and in what format is really going to help you fill in the space. If you're just staring at a blank page, you might struggle to get that first sentence, that first page written. But if you know, like, okay, well, I need this, that, this, you can create an outline pretty easily and then fill it out very basically, and then you can build your copy from there. And not everybody's an outline-based writer, but some people, it makes a world of difference for them.
Yeah.
So if you know exactly what you're doing, like I've had clients be like, I need copy. Like, can you write me a copy?
It's more like a copies.
Yeah.
I need a copies, please.
Yeah, I can't really do much with that. But if you're like, well, I need a sales page, I need an email opt-in, I need like a welcome sequence, like then you can start like, and then that's before you even come up with like what's the words I'm gonna write. You need to know where you're writing them, why you're writing them. Yeah.
Just to yes and you on that. Understanding the context, like where in the marketing funnel is this piece of copy going to go?
Super.
How does it fit in with the business? What is the goal? Because you can write a piece of copy where the goal is to like build engagement, and if you write that like a piece of sales copy, it will be ass.
Yeah.
So, all things to keep in mind.
Really, really, really good idea whenever you start with a new client is to sit down with the guru or the publisher, or whoever has created the product. And just ask them a ton of questions to get the full picture, because you're going to pick up on things that they haven't thought of, they haven't picked up on, and it's going to make the whole process so much easier if you front load that little bit of research and just understanding who you're writing for and what they want out of it. You're going to have much happier clients. Even if your copy bombs, you'll have a happier client if you gave them what they wanted.
We have another freelancing specific question. This is actually a very good question. So, been meaning to ask, should you try to convince your client to frame the copy based on what the audience is looking for versus what they think they should put in the copy? Now, listen. A lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business owners are arrogant as heck.
So you need to be more arrogant.
You need to be more arrogant. And there are some people, they're just mountains. You can't move them. You know, like they're going to be like, I listen, I don't care what the audience wants. I want this page to look like this. I want to say this. You know, I don't want to market that way. That sounds like ass. And you, as a person, sort of like, especially as a freelancer, like that's one of the disadvantages of like being freelancer versus being in-house, or like not having a relationship with the people that you're working with. You don't really have a whole lot of leverage to come in and be like, yeah, so what you think is wrong, and here's why. A lot of people don't respond very well to that.
So we actually had a conversation about this somewhat recently. I had a difficult client, and you advised me to just tell them like, "Well, I don't know if that's going to work. Why don't we try this instead?"
Yeah.
And so that can be a really diplomatic, and Sean's really good at these kind of diplomatic approaches to telling people they're wrong, because he has to do it so often. But yeah, just like gently like pushing them in the right direction. And ultimately, this is why I say like you need to know like what you're doing before you get started, because if your client wants something that you know for sure isn't going to work, you probably shouldn't take that client, and you should have this all established before you get started on a project, before you sign on the dotted line. It should be very clear like what you're doing, why you're doing it, because you're gonna wind up with angry clients. You're gonna wind up with people who want refunds. But if you tell them from the jump, like, look, like you're hiring me to be an expert in this field, and I'm gonna give you like the best that I can, they should be inclined to listen to that if they want to do well. And if they're hiring you because they understand that hiring a copywriter is gonna, like, that copywriter is gonna do a better job than they would themselves, then they should be open to your ideas and your professional expertise, and not like try to butt heads with you. And if they do, then you should set them free, and probably block them too, so you don't receive angry messages in the future.
Yeah. It's interesting. I actually had to deal with this relatively recently. So I recently partnered with a fitness coach who is designing programs specifically for pregnant women.
Okay.
And, like, just from what I know about pregnant women, like, of the different states of life or milestones in life that people can go through, that where you're more likely to spend a lot of money, pregnancy is one of those states. So that's one of the reasons why so many people market to pregnant women. Now, I've partnered up with her because not only that reason, there's gold in them hills, but also because I do believe in the person, I believe in the product. And also, I have a wife who has been pregnant 3 times, and I know some things. So, one of the things that I found in my research, IVOC data, if you are familiar with our 5-hour course on copywriting, that's free on YouTube, check out the channel. I found that there were a number of pregnant women, and they were, how should I say, there were a lot of problems and a lot of issues that they talked about in the context of fitness, but the biggest one that I noticed was a feeling that they had lost control of their bodies and no longer were as attractive as they were pre-pregnancy. It's a huge insecurity that a lot of pregnant women have. And a lot of existing programs for fitness coaches for pregnant women do not talk about that feeling. The feeling like you don't have full agency over your body anymore. The feeling that you're not as attractive to your partner anymore. And at the same time, your hormones are raging. And so like you're feeling these things, but like amped up to 12. And nobody was really talking about those pain points. And I knew going in that if I said to my business partner in this space, who is a woman, but who has not been pregnant, if I said we should be talking about women's bodies in the copy, I knew that she would have resistance to that. And so what I did was I prepared a research deck. Not a research deck, but actually a strategy brief.
A research deck for a fitness coach?
Shut up. No, it was a strategy brief. But there was a research section in there where I showed at least 20 snapshots of like people's language. And it was funny because she and I got on a FaceTime call after she read the strategy brief, and she said, listen, had you just talked to me about like actually talking about this, I would have said, no way are we going to do this. But because of what you put in the strategy brief, I actually talked to one of my clients, a pregnant woman, and I just asked like a simple question, like, how do you feel about your body after this? And she started talking about all the things that I put in the strategy brief. And so, and like was very, actually started crying during this conversation. And it's like, when you can elicit that emotional of a response from somebody about something they legitimately feel, and importantly, something you can legitimately help with, that's gold. That's what you're looking for when you are looking for angles in copy to talk about. because it's honest, it's not smarmy, and it's linked to something that is clearly a gap in the market that people need. So
to summarize, talk about women's bodies, make them cry.
out, get out, you're out of here. Anywho, so we got some compliments. Thank you very much. Everybody who's saying thank you in the chat, I appreciate you. Anyway, so let's actually get into reviewing more copy. That's what we're here for. Not talking about women's bodies or making them cry. That just made me feel really gross, Oren.
But it was for a good reason.
Anywho, so HIYP is a growing community of young professionals in the northeast of England. This community meets regularly for in-person events. They've got a mailing list, and I wrote a 10-day email sequence to get people to sign up to an event. So this is another welcome sequence for a webinar. So the event will train attendees how to use LinkedIn and network to enhance their careers. Okay, very clear. Yeah, empathy. If you approach copy with empathy, especially for those sensitive kinds of topics,
super important.
So important.
Yeah.
So important. I personally do not think that I've met some sociopaths who've tried to get into copywriting, but there's a natural limit to their growth in their career, simply because if you can't connect, or at least try to connect with people on a very emotional and meaningful level, you can't do this kind of work. So anywho, the 10 emails for this sequence are in the PDF below, and please note that if you click the link in the emails, you'll be taken to an Eventbrite listing that I also wrote. Good job, John. But if all you're interested in is how well these emails did, the performance data will be below. Scroll down. So I'm confused. So this is something that went out and actually is published, and they want to know how well these did. Performance data will be below. I want to see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Maybe if you can you scroll down further on the
Nope, nothing.
The performance data will be below. Maybe it hasn't been added yet.
Will be below. Yeah, it's not there. But anyway, damn, bait and switched. Yeah. Bad copy or good copy, depending upon what you're trying to
got you to scroll.
It got me to scroll. True.
That's in the YouTube coaching stuff. That's what I tell everyone is you want to get them to just keep scrolling, because a lot of people that are watching on their phone, they click the link. You just got to keep them scrolling until they get to the buy button. And the way you do that is with engaging copy. Yeah, absolutely. And good graphic design, that can't be understated for the social media audience.
Absolutely. If you're just looking at a wall of text, you're done.
That's why everybody does those line breaks after every sentence.
Yeah.
No wall of text bad.
So I've tested the crap out of that, actually.
Yeah.
And what I found was that for reading online, wall text bad, single 2, at most 3 lines, you still get that good flow. But for printed copy, paragraphs beat single lines.
Because maybe because printed copy is more mimicking news print?
When it comes to testing, you never truly know why. You can only make ad hoc assumptions about stuff, but I do have a hypothesis. With printed text, you're not staring into a light bulb. A screen is just a light bulb. The text is just light being shined into your eyes. If you're looking at a book, that's not the case. And so if you're scrolling, if you're looking at single lines and you're moving your eye quickly enough, it's not going to get fatigued. But if your eye is in the same spot for a long time, you are staring into a light bulb. That's my hypothesis.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I like it. Call the National Institute of Health. We've got a medical journal on our hands.
That's a test. There you go. So, hey, we couldn't be more proud of what Newcastle University has done for you, the HIYP tribe. They've made it possible for you to get answers to a couple of big questions swimming around your mind. Questions that have remained unanswered for too long, but could possibly propel your career forward by giving you more control over your career. I want to pause for a moment. This copy is not perfect, but look at how different this is from the other webinar welcome email that we looked at.
Night and day.
This is miles better than the other welcome sequence email that we looked at. Because both are welcome sequences for a webinar. Both are going towards professionals. So, and like there's a certain level of decorum you need to achieve. Both were going to, if I recall correctly, somebody, living in England. So ultimately, this, just by focusing on like the benefit, what people can get, like why you would even want to sign up for this in the first place, it's pretty good. So John, like you're already like head and shoulders above like something that like, how should I say, you would see from like a standard B2B like template. This is what you would hire a copywriter for, the kind of copy you would want to produce. Now, in terms of like just immediately off the bat things that I notice, like, just read this out loud, but could possibly propel your career forward by giving you more control over your career. Your career, your career.
It's also like a double action, possibly propel and giving you more control.
Yeah.
So, but it's easy. You can condense that into one sentence easily.
Exactly. You could, but this could possibly propel your career forward and give you more control in your life. Done. That's how you would revise that. And it's just condensing and finding other ways to phrase things that don't feel repetitive. So another one. They made it possible for you to get answers to a couple of big questions. And I would just leave it right there. Big questions, ... questions that have remained unanswered for too long, but could possibly prevail. Because at that point, you're just really driving home, like, what are these questions? Now, the criticism that I have here is, what are the questions? You're immediately in this next paragraph going, Newcastle University has made sure everything you need to get these career-enhancing answers is here. We've just gone from, like, I gotta know what these questions are that are in my mind, to, oh, here are the answers. Weird transition. That doesn't flow for me. It doesn't really make a whole lot of logical sense. Even if you're happy with your career trajectory right now, or feel like you don't want another flimsy career development suggestion, you should click here because you won't be disappointed. That's kind of weak. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I don't ever want to see a should in a CTA, because you aren't telling people, well, you should do this, you're telling them to do it, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying, click here to get the benefit, basically. Not, well, you should click here, but, it's up to you. No, you're saying...
Keep in mind, this is going out to an English audience.
I don't know how that...
Softer,
changes.
a little bit more, you have to be a little bit more tepid if you're going to people that, like...
So you're saying, click here now, motherfucker.
Exactly. If you're talking to an American, click here now or we will kill this puppy. Yeah. Like, you want to go hard in the paint.
Yeah.
But in copy that goes out to, audiences that are like more professional, more on the B2B side, English, European, Japanese, and Asian, consider clicking here because it could actually radically transform your life, in my opinion, would be better.
Wait, can you get rid of the consider and just say click here because it could radically transform your life?
I think that could potentially work, but at the same time, like, having a softening word right there can sometimes go a very long way.
I haven't seen any data on Japanese copy, so I'm going to defer to you on this one.
Well, this would be for English audiences. So this is what I know from, like, talking to people who worked at South Bank, things like that.
Okay.
And it really depends on whom you talk to, so, like, don't take this as gospel, but what I've found is that just having a little bit of softening, not a lot, just a little bit, like stuff that people can easily gloss over.
See, I was taught to always write with extreme confidence.
I love this. Hope this email finds you well, or I will. It's so threatening.
Beautiful.
I love it.
I'm going to steal that. I don't write many emails, but if I find an email that I can use that for.
Yeah. So my big problems here, it's mostly like logical gaps. Like, you're talking here about questions, and then you switch in this paragraph to, like, you're talking about answers. So, like, there's logical leaps in this copy that I'm not following you on. It's not. It doesn't flow.
What are the questions that have been answered?
Yeah, you can simply like state the questions at the beginning. Hey, we could be more proud of what Newcastle University has done for you, the HIYP tribe. I think it would be hype if you want to pronounce that. They made it possible to get answers to a couple of big questions swinging around in your mind. Questions like this, and this. Now, these questions have remained unanswered for too many, and then you would call out the specific person you're talking to, for too long. But simply answering these questions could propel, or just simply, could propel your career to new heights and radically and give you more control in your life. Something like that. And then, now, Newcastle University has made sure everything you need to get these career-enhancing answers is here. And simply just rearranging stuff and adding a little bit more and making it a little bit more succinct in places, it takes you a long way further. Anyway. Yeah, that's a fine CTA for a PS. That's totally fine. So email 2. We'll do the first 2 emails and then maybe we'll read the 10th. All right, email 2. Hey, your managers want you to do it. Your colleagues want you to do it. Your parents want you to do it. Your friends want you to do it. Even you want you to do it. Because here's the thing. Doing it is good for you. What do you think of this pattern interrupt, this hook?
I like it conceptually. It goes on a little too long.
That was my thought too. It goes on too long. In comedy, we have the rule of 3. It applies to copy as well. Your managers want you to do it. Your colleagues want you to do it. Even you want you to do it.
I would say managers and colleagues kind of falls under the same umbrella. So I would say your managers want you to do it. Your parents want you to do it. Even you want you to do it.
There you go.
Because your parents and your managers are people who would tell you what to do. And then you are someone who would tell you what to do. Your friends and your colleagues, they probably wouldn't tell you what to do. So
Fair enough.
That would be my criteria there.
Oh, not bad. Because
I have occasional insights.
The C+. C+, Oren.
You sound like my 7th grade math teacher.
Because here's the thing.
And 8th grade.
Doing it is good for you. But just like cooking great food, most people want to do it, but don't know how to do it. I feel like this it mystery thing is a little too long.
You have to pay it off pretty quickly. If you're getting somebody 3 sentences in without actually sharing anything at all, like no benefit, no promise, no value, you have to pull the curtain down.
Yeah. Kyle Milligan would call this poor man's intrigue. Where basically, like, you're really relying on people wanting to know what it is.
He's a master of that.
Oh, yeah.
I read one of his sales letters. It's like 30 pages, like, teasing something. I had no idea what the fuck it was.
Well, I mean, but that's different. Building hype and intrigue for something is different than saying, like, using it or this and having just the word carrying most of the weight.
Sure. But I think that teasing a little bit's good, especially in short copy. Don't have a lot of time to do it.
Exactly, and that's why I don't think this is working right here.
Yeah, people want to know when somebody opens an email, they want to immediately know what they're in for.
Yeah.
And if you say, because here's the thing, doing it is good for you, then you immediately have to say what it is, and then you can still have that line. It's just like cooking great food. You have to know how to do it to do it.
Yeah. Yes, we're talking about networking, both online and in person. I don't want to say it. Anyway, there's other ways that you can build intrigue around this word, networking. Like you can call it like a dirty word. Like you can call it a word that has sent like people like to the bathroom crying, etc., etc. And because what are we doing there? You're not relying on like all this social pressure to do it. You're also like tapping into a pain point that people feel, which is a lot of people feel social anxiety. So
yeah, I would, if I were writing this email, I would be starting with a pain point, like,
yeah,
because, well, 1, I can relate, and 2, people who aren't networking probably is because they're in their own head. They're anxious. They don't feel like they're good enough. They don't know like if they're actually going to yield any results from it, and so why bother? They're afraid of rejection, stuff like that. And like those are really powerful insecurities that if you can convince somebody that you're going to help them overcome that, that's worth more money than you're going to ask them for.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that ties in with what he's saying here. You know, Kyle's rule is that what's in it for me has to be in the first 4 sentences.
Oh, absolutely.
He specifically was talking about sales letters, not emails. But I think it applies here too. And Oren, I think your advice to actually lead with pain points might be a stronger way than this. This is a little too clever for me.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that trips up a lot of newer copywriters, especially ones who are actually already good writers. Being a good writer is actually a detriment in copy.
Oh, don't I know that?
Yes, Mr. MFA in creative
Shut up!
writing.
Shut up!
Well, cheers to that.
Oh boy, yeah, yours is empty. So
I had one drop left, and it was delicious.
great. So, yes, we were talking about networking, and Newcastle University has partnered with Hype to make sure that you know how to network on LinkedIn and in person. I mean, doesn't that just
how in all caps?
Yeah, I don't like the how in all caps, and also like this is just saying what this just said.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, because when you know how to network as a young professional, we get to review some bullets.
These are generally good bullets, just at a glance. Like, you're actually kind of dimensionalizing these benefits and like saying like what this benefit's going to do for you, not just what the benefit is, but how it's actually going to directly impact your life.
Yeah.
And that's what intensifies like the emotional impact of especially bullet points, is when you don't just say here's a benefit, you take it a step further and say, okay, how is this benefit going to help you? How is that thing then going to further improve your life?
Yeah.
You can always think about these, especially bullets, but any line of copy, like how do I take it a step further? How do I make this more real, more visceral, more emotional?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I would recommend here is to do some punch-ups for the language. By the way, a punch-up just means like improving the quality of, to make it a little bit more impactful. So can get onto the radar. So I understand get onto the radar, but just say that.
Yeah.
Because when you know how to network, you get onto the radar of better employers. You don't have to have the can there.
Yeah. And then that long before they open up a suitable vacancy, that's great.
Yeah.
For the second one, get an industry stethoscope, which means you can. Get rid of that, which means you can. Get an industry stethoscope to discover shifts in your industry and react faster.
I would even move this around. Discover shifts in your industry and react faster with
an industry stethoscope.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Be known as, so facilitate problem-solving introductions so you become the number one guy who knows a girl or knows a guy. Yeah, basically, you would rephrase that, and you'd start with facilitate. Look for power. Again, guys, I know I harp on this too much, but when you are revising and reviewing your copy, isolate and identify the powerful verbs, or look for ways that you can rephrase things to focus on powerful verbs. So that's what I would want you to. That was what I would recommend to you. This is all possible with the power of networking. And if you want to know exactly how to network online and in person, this feels a little. You only need to do this once, and here is the place to do it. The other 2 times it doesn't work. Then click here. You won't even need to pay a penny to get this information. That CTA works, I think, pretty well.
So I want to comment on the power of networking / how to network. Like all these things, it's building up networking as sort of this like big thing that people don't know what it is. But then it's just networking, which feels like a little bit of a letdown in the reveal. So what I'm thinking is maybe you add an adjective to it. It will help make it unique, like it's your own type of networking. It'll also make the reveal feel a little more satisfying. It's like, oh, you need this kind of networking, not whatever the fuck you've been doing before. And then that just helps make it seem like something you don't already know. Because a lot of people, if they're reading this and they're like, oh, it's networking, they'll be like, well, I know how to network.
We were just talking about that with the public speaking
Yeah.
sales letter, where it's
I had
like
a similar issue with that.
Yeah, like if what you're talking about is something that people already know, then you go, oh, well, yeah, I'll just go do that. And then they do that, and they stop reading your copy. And so
Exactly.
we encountered this, and I was actually just talking to John Newsom about this on the podcast, which was like, when you are talking about like common ideas, especially bull market style ideas, where it's like Bitcoin is going crazy, look at all these gains. You can't just say that, because what is the natural thing to do? Buy Bitcoin to make money. And so you have to find the story or manufacture the story that nobody else is telling. And here, if it's do networking, learn networking, people would just be like, all right, I guess I'll do that. No, if people feel like this is something different, or if this is like a specific lens through which you can learn networking, adding some sort of specificity, adding some sort of proprietariness to it is going to make this copy way more powerful. Because then you're not just selling networking, you're selling a particular type of networking that can give somebody an edge. That's what you're selling here. So, let's jump down to the 10th email. Email 10. This is the 10th email you're getting about the hype event taking place tomorrow. I don't love that.
I hate that.
We've been counting. This
person went way too hard on the 10th thing.
Too hard on number 10. At this point, there's nothing more to...
Oh, they really did not want people reading this email.
When you get this far into a webinar sequence, and like, here's the subject line. Mark your calendars. Opening line. Don't forget, the hype webinar about networking, or this type of networking, is tomorrow at this time sharp. You know, we're not going to accommodate latecomers. Make sure, like, you cancel all distractions. You'll have another chance to kiss your kids goodnight. Make sure to show up at this time at this place. Do not forget, what you're going to learn from this webinar is going to change your life and give you an edge that, and then insert benefits here.
What this email is saying in the first 3 sentences is don't bother. Don't bother to read this. We have nothing more to tell you.
Yeah.
Why even show up?
Yeah. Hey, shit or get off the pot. When you are this close to the webinar, again, what you're doing here, the point is to get people to show up.
Butts in seats.
Butts in seats.
This is the hard close. You could think of the 10 email sequence as like a 10-part sales letter, basically, and this is the hard close. This is where you pull out all the stops. You tell them you have to show up. If you miss this, it will ruin your life.
Yeah.
If you don't get this, like, you're gonna regret it for the rest of your life. This, and we've actually said stuff like that in the Agora copy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you don't want to be kicking yourself for the rest of your life if you miss this, so you better show up.
It is not a USP thing. A USP is simply the unique selling proposition. If you're referring to like how to make the webinar or the networking feel proprietary, then yes, that would be making it feel unique and giving a different slant on something that people already understand or know. So, but what we're talking about here for the 10th email is not the USP thing.
Copy in a lot of ways is very much like punditry or commentary, where you're really just, it's an emotional spin on facts, essentially.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was talking to an acquaintance of mine in the Copywriting Collective Discord server.
Yeah.
This is like a year or two ago, and we were debating about like actual truth versus emotional truth. And a lot of people believe that everybody before Galileo thought that the Earth was flat. Or that Christopher Columbus thought that the Earth was flat.
Didn't? No.
No.
He just thought India was to the left.
Exactly. But that's the actual truth. The narrative that is very common in society is Christopher Columbus had this bold idea that he was going to sail west and not fall off the edge of the earth. And so that's the difference. Like, again, like if you're talking to somebody who believes a specific notion about the world that's not technically true, Your copy shouldn't come out swinging and saying, "No, you're wrong, buddy." You have to finesse it a lot more carefully.
You can't change people's minds in copy, or if your copy is not selling anything, you might be able to change somebody's mind, because that could be the thing you're selling, is this new way of thinking. But you can't sell a product and also change somebody's mind. If they don't think they need this product, you're not going to convince them they do.
Yeah.
You're only going to sell a product to somebody who thinks that they could benefit them.
Yeah, the way that I think that it's been best put is you're trying to reframe a belief.
Sure.
Not change a belief. So.
And you can reframe a belief. Golden Hippo is really good at doing that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
One of their biggest ever VSLs, the headline is like 5 toxic superfoods to avoid. And
it's I've seen that. It's really good.
Foods that you think are healthy that actually aren't.
Yep.
And then, people are blown away. And then at the end, they're like, oh, by the way, buy my supplement.
Yeah. I love VSLs like that, the educational style VSLs, because they're super compliant.
That's
for
the
one.
future of it. And that's all I do these days is all of the coaching and copy that I review. It's all for like informational teaching products, like learn how to get better at art, learn how to get better at drumming, learn how to cook better. It's all stuff like that. And it's great because you can actually make direct promises, because you can say, like, these are the techniques that like professional drummers use or professional artists use. Yeah. This is how you take award-winning photographs.
That also lends itself very nicely to the types of closes where it's just like, listen, you can either take what I've just taught you and try to do it yourself, or you can spend a little bit of money, less than a cup of coffee per day, and have me help you walk through these different things. There you go.
Yeah, and that's the key to the Golden Hippo VSL, really, is that choice. You offer the choice. They outline the problem, they give the difficult solution, and they're like, yeah, you could spend hundreds of dollars and hours a day preparing raw organ meat for your dog for every meal, or you could just buy our premium dog food that I specially made for my own dogs, and I'm a vet who's saved countless dogs' lives, including like Oprah's and Jerry Seinfeld's.
How is that for social proof? Jesus.
Oh my god!
That's so
it starts out like the first line is it's like a montage of news clips, and the voiceover is, they're called Marty's Miracles.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So yeah. I can talk about that all day. Anyway, this is not the watch us talk shop video. This is the let's actually review some copy video. All right. Special context. These lifts are going out to a list of people who are looking to lower their cholesterol and triglyceride levels naturally. All right, this is up your wheelhouse. These people are very aware of HDL, good cholesterol, and LDL, bad cholesterol, and have already shown interest in supplements in the past. Great, good market research. They prefer natural solutions to solving potential health issues. Got it. Email 1. Subject line. Italian citrus secret lowers cholesterol naturally?
It's a good subject line.
That's a good subject line. Ding. I'll be driving but listening. Roast away. Preview text. The natural secret to peak heart health.
It's fine. I'm not actually the biggest fan of preview text.
Yeah, for me, it's like, in my opinion, the best use of a preview text is to make it seem like you've put the main benefit in the preview text, but you've worded it in such a way that it cuts off right as you're about to reveal something.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the best approach, because every preview text is going to be, people are reading on phones, laptops, desktop computers, tablets. They're all going to show a different amount of preview text.
Yeah. And
so you never really know if they're even going to read it at all. So the best thing you can do is really just do something that either like reiterates what's in the subject line or gets like right into it, but they have to actually read to find out what you're talking about. So
yeah, I mean, to a very simple listen, what I just stated about preview text was a preference. I have not tested this. Now, if you want to do what I just said, just a personal preference, here's what I would do. Peak heart health begins with this natural secret that, and then just ...
Yeah, I love it.
There you go. Because what are we doing there? We have this, the benefit, followed by the intrigue that trails off. That's how I would rewrite that preview text. Again, this should not be a game changer for you. Anybody that just had their mind blown by me rearranging this sentence should not have had their mind blown. That is just one simple way that you can like achieve what I was just talking about. So, anyway.
So these first two lines are good. I might combine them.
Well, we have to accommodate the visually impaired and read the copy out loud.
Something fruit.
Something fruit. In the hilltop orchards of Calabria, I can't even fucking read.
In the hilltop orchards of Calabria, Italy, grows the world's best-kept secret to lowering your cholesterol naturally.
Love it.
It lies within a rare golden-hued citrus fruit.
Love it.
This Italian citrus is jam-packed with unique nutrients that lower your cholesterol and triglycerides naturally. Many of the locals here live unusually long, active lives.
I want to ask your opinion. Should we have
That's not compliant. Oh, what was your question?
Well, we'll talk about compliance in a moment,
Okay.
but do you prefer this Italian citrus is jam-packed with unique nutrients that naturally lower your cholesterol, or having this naturally as an adverb phrase at the end of the sentence?
I like it better that naturally lower, but you've already said naturally in the first sentence. I don't think you need to say it again here because it's sort of implied, but also you didn't even imply it. You've given the context in the line above.
I have talked about in previous streams of like sentences that all seem to have the same cadence or that repeat phrasal structures over and over again. And this is like, if you end a sentence with naturally every single time, it's going to be noticeable. And like you want your copy to be kind of invisible.
Yeah.
And so like just looking for ways to either move stuff around, rephrase things, or insinuate what you're saying, but like a little bit differently, using different language, that's ultimately going to carry you forward very, very well. All right.
Yeah. So I would combine those first two sentences. I'd say in the hilltop orchards of Calabria, Italy, grows a rare golden-hued citrus fruit. Inside its peel or whatever lives the world's best-kept secret to lowering your cholesterol naturally. This Italian citrus is jam-packed with unique nutrients that lower your cholesterol and triglycerides. Many of the locals, that stuff's good. Now here's the thing about compliance for this sentence, and this is something I learned working for Sears, which is you can't say that a supplement addresses any disease or disease state. And the reason is because pharmaceutical companies and the industrial insurance complex run this country. But, like, ethically, yes, you can say this. Literally, scientifically true, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Facts and logics are the least of regulators' concerns.
That's true.
They only care about who is bribing congressmen legally through lobbyists. That's what they care about. So
I don't know if we can legally say that on the show. Anywho. Slander.
I mean,
man, poor Amanda Knox, man.
I don't know if that's even slander, if it can be proven to be
I'm
true.
joking. I'm joking. Besides, it's libel.
There we go. Anyways, so there are workarounds, but I think having high cholesterol is considered a disease state, which is why you can't directly say that it lowers cholesterol. Now, granted, if you're not selling a supplement here, if you're only selling an info product, you can talk about supplements that do this. If you're saying you should just go out and get a citrus bergamot supplement and you're not actually selling one directly, that's fine. You can say that it lowers cholesterol and you can point to all these studies that proved it. But if you're selling this as a supplement, you can't say it's going to lower their cholesterol.
By the way, when you sort of veer off that way, you go off screen. So I'm trying to like scoot this way so that you can scoot it. Let's get real cozy.
Okay. So anyways, one of the big workarounds that we found, specifically talking about like natural like diabetes treatments, was you can say it will help balance your blood sugar or bring support healthy blood sugar, stuff like that. So you're not saying it lowers it or raises it or anything. So if you are a health copywriter, it's something to be aware of. So yeah, I don't know if this is directly selling the supplement. I assume it is. So I would say that balance your cholesterol, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, different verbs, rather than lower, like have like a meaningful impact. Like one, I had a promo that was like it was all about like how you can get insider information about this stock, and legal was just like, no, you can't say that, you can't fucking say that. And
they loved us.
and so I actually, the legal department did love me, but
which is weird.
Well, no, it's not. I specifically went out of my way to make their lives better. But that's neither here nor there. I got with who was it? Rob Gordon. And I was trying to brainstorm like, how do I overcome this compliance issue? They won't let me, like, this is the whole idea of the promo was around like getting like insider information legally. And Rob was like, just say like that way you can get the inside track on these stocks. And so I put, this information will give you the inside track on these stocks. And simply shifting that metaphor a little bit, all of a sudden I'm saying basically the same thing, but because like inside track as a phrasal template technically doesn't mean anything, it became compliant like that.
Yep. It's all, you got to find the workarounds.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, if there's a large company in your space like Agora, like Golden Hippo, they found those workarounds, so just study their copy.
So, like look for when they can or do use the word lower. Look for when they don't in similar situations.
And it all comes down to whether or not you're selling that supplement.
I'm glad you were here for this. Like, I would not have known that, actually. I would not have known that.
It's a whole thing.
There you go.
Sears got sued by regulators while I was working there. So I learned a lot about this stuff.
Oy, oy, oy.
Yeah.
Were you the reason he got sued?
No. It was Adam Wasserman, though.
Don't name names. That's slander.
No.
Or is it libel? I forget.
Adam Wasserman wrote some amazing promotions for them, and the complaints that the regulators had were actually pretty much entirely BS. So they ended up settling out of court because they knew they couldn't get the... They went with throw everything and see what sticks. Like the shotgun approach, basically.
Yeah, that's what they did with Raging Bull.
Yeah. So they couldn't actually, say, like... Because I had to go through Adam's promo and refute all of the claims they were making about it, which I was able to do easily. Because Adam's a great copywriter. He did really good research.
Yeah.
And everything he was saying was completely fucking true. But they didn't like... They just don't like this kind of... Regulators hate us. Just don't like it.
Do emails have to be this long? Some of them, yeah. Especially if you're like, if it's a sales email as opposed to a lift.
Supplement emails especially, you're going to see the ones that... So if you subscribe to go on a Hippo email list, which if you ever want to write health copy, absolutely have to do.
Yeah.
Their sales emails, which are actually directly selling a product, 500 to 1,000 words.
Yeah, they're long.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you look at a lift letter from Agora. I wrote lift letters that were a single paragraph.
Same. I wrote... So one of the best lift letters that I ever wrote was... It was all lowercase, and it was all using text speech, which was... it was something like, hey, busy, I wrote a new book. You should check it out.
Sent from my iPhone.
And then yeah, exactly. It's sent from my iPhone, and then like I didn't even have like the link. I just had like a copy paste of the actual URL in that lift.
Wow.
That lift killed.
That's awesome. I love that.
So, anyway, yeah, I was proud about that. Like, you can really only use that style of email once, but that was a Shawnee Mac special where it's like I saw that in another context, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna use that for financial. Like, I totally did a cross pollination thing. And it worked really, really, really well every time I tested it. So,
the best performing subject line I ever saw, shout out to Angel, specifically their senior copywriter, Ted Leinbach. Delete after reading, in parentheses, do not forward.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Extreme intrigue.
That's pretty good.
Extreme intrigue.
There's a whole like slew of promos that were tested around that. Like, for example, when they sold the CIA dude, I forget his name. He was a survival prep dude. But they were like put in your email address to sign this NDA to see the special message that he's saying. And so it was like it was a front end sales promo. Like, it was an actual like sales letter, But in order to see the sales letter, you had to put in your email address. But the way that they got your email address was, warning, the contents in are like, possibly like dangerous or considered dangerous by the government. We don't know how long we're going to be able to keep this. You can't tell anybody about what we're about to show you. Like, in order to, serve this information to you, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, put in your email address below to officially sign this NDA, and then you put in your email address, and that signs you up to the list. That's the lead gen, and now you can see the front-end promo, and now, like, you're like, oh my god, this is scandalous information. And that's how they sold the actual, like, it was like a kit plus a newsletter and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't think they sold that for a super long time.
They did not, but that guru is actually still, like, he has his own, like, business now. It was one of those things where it's like Agora, aside from financial products, just never really quite figured out how to scale non-financial products. Like courses, prepping stuff.
Yeah.
They tried, and
I think the problem was they were trying to sell it to the financial audience rather than building a new audience.
I can talk for hours about that because I have personal experience with that. But yeah, I would definitely be inclined to agree.
Yeah.
Where it's like they would test all these non-financial offers to financial lists and then be like, oh, well, I guess this offer doesn't work. It's like, no, what? You haven't even tested it to the right audience yet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we have all these subscribers.
Anyway, I'm not going to say speak ill of the hand that feeds me.
Yeah. Well, I'll do it for you.
No,
the hand
you
that
will
feeds
not.
Sean
No, you will
bad.
not. No, they are not. They're delightful. I actually do really love working with them. Anyway, so let's actually get back to the email. Many of the locals here live unusually long, active lives, well into the 80s or 90s. Love that. It reminds me of the Nate Rifkin promo, Spanish Leaf.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a different Nate Rifkin promo.
Oh, the date Nate?
Yeah. That was the stroke of genius.
That was the stroke of genius. Well, anyway. Despite the fact that pasta, cheese, and heavy cream sauces are part of their everyday diet, somehow they're still maintaining healthy cholesterol and great heart health well into their later years. What if there was a way you too could get in on the citrus secret? Look at that. Oh, man. Proven to give so many in Calabria long, active lives. The problem is the rarity of the citrus fruit.
This is a good email.
This is a good email.
If you told me Emmy wrote this, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't bat an eye.
Yeah,
I wouldn't bat an eye. It only grows in one tiny region in the entire world. After all, Calabria is so small that you can drive from end to end in just 4 hours. And that's a common reframing thing, by the way, for the audience who did not write this. Like, saying, like, this big thing is in this small area, or this small thing and it is in this big area. It just, giving that sense of scale can really communicate rhetorically a lot of power and the feeling of scarcity or the feeling of uniqueness. So just what he's doing here is actually genius. I like this.
Yeah, there's a website, I can't remember exactly what it's called, something like the size of things or the scale of things.
Yeah.
And you can put in like any number and it'll give you like an analogy like, oh, that's like 6 football fields, or that's 80, cups of water, stuff like that.
So I'm doing that for a report that I'm writing right now for my business where, Mark Zuckerberg is talking about data centers and building a data center that is a 1 gigawatt data center. And so in my report, I'm dimensionalizing what 1 gigawatt actually is. And I'm saying, like, that would power 80,000 homes just for one data center. To put that in context, it's clear that green energy is not going to be enough to make this amount of power. After all, one solar panel is 2 meters wide. To generate 1 gigawatt, you would need something like 1,200 acres of solar panels just to power one data center. No, nobody's going to build that. That's why the real power behind the AI revolution is
nuclear energy.
Well, that's the secret that I'm building up to. But yes, it is actually nuclear energy. Anyway, that's why I have literally like some uranium ore in this box. Like, this is actually radioactive
mystery box.
uranium ore.
It's a mystery box. We'll open it and we'll see if we can light it on fire at the end of the stream.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
All right. Well, I mean, apparently there's like 1,500,000 calories in a single like gram of uranium. So
gains.
Gains right there.
Gains.
That's right there. Get those Godzilla gains.
Yeah.
All right.
How did you buy uranium?
Easily online. There are people that just
nobody
legit...
asked, like, are you gonna be responsible with this?
Yeah.
Just like, here you go. Yeah. Sure. Why not?
No. So for real, like before I unbox this, because this box is heavy because it is lined inside
with lead.
I don't know if it's with lead, but it is lined inside. But I'm gonna transmit that, and yeah, I have like protective gloves and everything like that. They're over there. Cool. Anywho. I just casually have real uranium ores sitting right over here.
The life of a copywriter.
The life of a copywriter.
You start out sitting on a beach writing an hour a day, and you wind up with uranium.
With uranium fucking radiation poisoning. Yeah. Your inside sloughing off. All right. So just to put this into context, Nolan, we're only going on so many fun tangents because you wrote a good email.
Yeah, this is a great email.
Yeah, we're not really talking, like, we're not nitpicking this because it's good. We've done a few things vis-a-vis compliance. He sort of restructured your opening in a way that I thought was very good, but ultimately, like, even if you don't make those changes, this is still a passable email.
This is an email that could have been published at Sears as is. I would have taken 10-15 minutes with it, and then I would have approved it.
Yeah. Giving you a transparent way to know for certain that you're getting the purest, highest benefits early, and make later to discover the Italian citrus secret that's proven to lower your cholesterol and triglycerides naturally. That's another,
you might have to say proven to support healthy cholesterol levels or proven to balance your cholesterol, something like that.
Yeah, what you want to be looking for here is a wording thing. So... yeah, Nolan, good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Let's look at... do you want to look at email 2, or shall we move on to somebody else, since Nolan...
I don't think Nolan needs our help.
All right. Nolan, good job. Like, I'm sorry, like, we've gave you some advice, but, like, there's not a whole lot of advice to give you. You did a really good job, so... thank you.
And this looks like just a different iteration of the same idea.
Yeah.
The second one.
Yeah.
I don't love green gold just because is it gold or is it green? Because you talk about the gold color in the other email. So
yeah.
Green gold implies like this is something green that's valuable.
Yeah.
Rather than this is like a fruit that's gold.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah. And green gold anyway, we all know is hemp. So.
Yeah, it's true. True story. All right. Let's zoom in a little bit for the visually impaired. Look at this. I've gotten destroyed every copy critique section except this one. Last time, you and Jacob blasted my shitty tax law.
Maybe that's more an indication of tax law being shitty than the company.
The libertarian speaks again.
Yeah, I fucking hate taxes.
Who doesn't?
I'm really mad that I have to pay. So that's the thing they don't tell you about freelancing. Any of these like big dramatic promises that like copy gurus make is that you have to pay taxes 4 fucking times a year. Which
I don't. I just pay the penalty.
Oh, fair. Unless you're Scrooge McDuck in it and can afford the penalty.
True story.
Is the penalty, is it a flat fee or is it percentage based?
It's a percentage based on the number of months beyond when you were supposed to file. Okay. But here's the thing.
I've considered it.
I withhold enough from one of my other income sources that it actually covers all the taxes and penalties that everything else is incurred, so it all washes out.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pay my first big tax bill in a couple of weeks, and was strongly considering just taking the penalty.
Talk to your tax advisor before you do so.
That's you.
Anywho. Context. Landing page for a free download PDF for course Teaching Kids Financial Literacy. Okay. I think this is Warren's copy. Warren's pretty good.
He is, yeah. I've seen a couple.
Oh, you've worked with Warren?
He sent me some samples when I was at Sears. I don't think anything ever came of it, but the samples were pretty solid.
All right. Parents of kids 5 to 13 years old. The funnel is opt-in, drops them into a nurture sequence. Upsell is a school group membership and one-on-one consultation calls. Feedback, headline, complex, and lead overall funnel strategy. Alternative, should this be a sales page for the school group with a free download as an opt-in? Do you understand what that means?
Well, generally an opt-in will have a free download.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. Opt-in drops them into a nurture seat. Upsells.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully understand what he's saying here.
It's a landing page for a free download PDF for a course.
Yeah.
So that landing page could be a sales page.
Yeah.
It could be an email opt-in. Generally, you know what they said at Agora with the free, get your free report stuff is you have to indicate that it's free when you accept this offer.
Yeah.
So if it's truly free, then yeah, you should do that more as like a
squeeze page,
an email opt-in, or
yeah.
Well, if it's a squeeze page, it wouldn't be free, right? It would be a few dollars.
No, a squeeze page is it's basically an opt-in page. You're
Okay.
squeezing one bit of information from the client in exchange for the lead magnet or what have you.
In my vernacular, squeeze page is a sub $10 offer.
I've always heard that called a self-liquidating offer.
I've also heard it called a tripwire offer.
Do you guys understand now why I tell you not to get hung up on marketing jargon or like the names of things, or like why I get so frustrated with people who are just like, can you please name every type of copy that there is? Like, because it's impossible. Everybody calls these things different things. So
yeah, and we come from the same
school
same
of
fucking copy.
world. Yeah,
it's not like we're from different worlds, and yeah.
Okay. So this page is selling the free download. I'm already a little skeptical of this, but
okay. Well, it sounds like they could just be like a email opt-in. If
to give people a general sense of what these ideas are that are being communicated by us, and one of the things that I try to communicate to people as a follow-up is you're going to work for people who are going to call things either by the wrong name or just have their own name for stuff. Just super common.
Okay, so Warren's provided the two options here.
Okay, option A is the page is selling the free download, which I don't love. Option B is this page is a sales page for the school group, which I do love because that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, so for an email opt-in page, and I've been doing a ton of these with my YouTube group, is all you need really is a headline, a subhead, and no more than 5 bullet points. If any.
I was going to say exactly that. Headline, 3 bullet points form. Done.
Yep.
And maybe like some disclosure and privacy policy text.
I wouldn't.
Well,
personally.
I mean, you have to have
I mean,
that.
I'd have the links at the bottom, like the little hyperlinks.
If you have the hyperlinks, that's fine. Ahem. Worried about your child's financial future? How to make your kids money smart in just 10 minutes a day, even if you don't know the first thing about finances.
It's a good promise.
Good promise.
One thing about the eyebrow, which I don't know, what would you call that?
That's eyebrow copy.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing about the eyebrow is I personally, and this is totally personal, this isn't like a right or wrong thing, I'd like to use that as an appeal to authority to mention like stuff like New York Times bestselling author reveals or former hedge fund manager will show you how, stuff like that. This is by no means a bad eyebrow. It's just appeals to authority are incredibly persuasive because it immediately addresses why should I believe you.
My sort of on that note, the eyebrow copy, what I have found typically is that is the place where you want to sort of lay a subconscious groundwork, because people tend to gloss it over. People tend to ignore it. People tend to not even look at it. Yeah, for sure. And so like when you're doing that, when you're establishing authority in the eyebrow copy, you're essentially like, your eye doesn't notice this, but your brain does. To quote a Red Letter Media video.
Gotta love them.
And so like if you are like making an urgent warning about something, you would want to do that there. And that urgent warning isn't that small text because it subconsciously creates that tension, that sense of danger, that sense of et cetera, et cetera.
Warren had a good suggestion. Former child will show you how.
You
I
would
that.
like that joke.
As a former child myself.
As we're all former childs here. That's funny. The kids are capable, of course. Actually, I don't hate that. It's not good.
It's fine.
It's fine. I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah, that's fine.
Gives kids the tools they need to feel financially free for life, while also strengthening family bonds, building confidence, and encouraging generosity.
So maybe this is just my own personal experience, but that's not a promise I would believe if I was a prospect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're from a...
My family sucks.
Your family sucks. But... I mean, all of our families suck, man.
Yeah.
For the right person.
Jokes aside, is there this connection between, like, strengthening family bonds, building confidence, and encouraging like, the family bonds thing, I guess, for me, just doesn't really connect with the other ideas here. Like, while also building confidence and encouraging generosity, I think that plays with the financially free. But strengthening family bonds, I don't know about that one.
This viewer says, I feel like the subhead betrays the headline. Do we think that? How to make your kids money smart in just 10 minutes a day, even if you don't know the first thing about finances. The kids are capable, of course, gives kids the tools they need to feel financially free for life, while also strengthening family. I don't see how this betrays the headline. I think this is fine. My problem with the subhead is, like, are these really benefits that people desire? You know, that's one thing that I'm constantly harping on in these calls with you guys, these videos with you guys. I'm constantly trying to get you to I'm trying to encourage you guys to think, like, what do people want? What do real human people want? And more often than not, the vast majority of the copy that I see, especially from AI, doesn't actually frame things in a way that are desirable to a real person with real desires. And so when I look at this and I go, I can see this. Strengthening family bonds, building confidence, yeah. Encouraging generosity, maybe. It depends on whom you're talking to, and in fact, the client might demand this to be in there. So I think this is fine. I might opt instead for, like, you know, ensuring legacy, because there's something selfish in it for the person there. So, like, for example, this course gives kids the tools they need to uphold their legacy, or to build a legacy of their own.
Uphold family values.
Uphold family values. But what I'm trying to say with, like, the word legacy there is that there's both a generous and a selfish component to it.
Sure.
Which is, like, with legacy, what are we talking about there? Not only are we talking about making sure that the kids are set up well, but we're also making sure that the person who's doing this thing has their legacy being carried on. Their values, their perspectives, etc., etc. And so, like, there's that balance in that concept, and you can find and brainstorm other ways to frame this, where there's that both selfish and altruistic component to the word legacy. And that would probably be where I went with this.
I like it.
Yeah.
I definitely want to change the name of the course now that I've looked at it for longer.
Yeah.
I don't know what to. Maybe Cash Kids?
That might be a little too over the top for some course creators, especially if you want that to be your front end product. If this is like a free thing, the kids are capable course. Hey, you know, like, yeah, I'll put in my email address for that. But hey, you signed up for the kids are capable course. Would you like to upgrade to the Cash Kids course?
I don't know that you need to name the course in this.
I don't think you need to name the course.
Subhead.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Anywho, so download the free workbook, testimonial, social proof. Yeah, typically this would be, you know, as appears on something like that, or as appeared on, or as featured by. When I was growing up, my parents didn't talk much about money. Okay, we're going to get into a long story. And here's my thing. Before I even read this, I can tell you right now that if this is just a free download page to get an email address, testing this plus a few bullets is probably going to beat this.
Yeah. I love starting off with bullet points in copy, because you're able to very quickly address the things that make it relevant to the reader, like pain points, like desired outcomes, and that's the what's in it for me that you need in the first 4 sentences, as per Kyle.
All right, so let's assume it's a paid school group page. So instead of downloading the free workbook, it would
Buy
be
the non-free workbook.
Yeah, sign up to this school group today,
Sure.
or what have you. And so this would be a CTA that takes you down to like an order form or something like that. Social proof. When I was growing up, my parents didn't talk much about money. It was a taboo subject, and it seemed like they preferred keeping me in the dark about it. It seemed maybe I'm pointing this stuff out because when you are writing, if you are not carefully going over your copy again, you're not going to see it. But now that I pointed that out to you, you're like, oh yeah, that does sound like but. So
the number one word you want to like take a razor to your copy for is that. You'd be amazed at how many that's you can remove.
That, just sometimes there, or this, it is another good one.
Yeah, this is hard to eliminate from copy. A lot harder than that, which is interesting.
What I'm trying to say is, when you are editing your copy, you want to adopt the mindset of a transphobe. You want to be anti-pronoun.
Yes.
You want to say, oh, this pronoun over here, I'm anti-pronoun. Why do we want to do that? Because pronouns by themselves communicate zero information. They serve a grammatical function, they don't serve a semantic function. And so ultimately, your copy becomes more specific when you start looking at pronouns like it, like they, and you go, how can I word this better? How can I make this more specific? Anywho, maybe money was a source of stress for them, so they tried to protect me. Maybe their parents never taught them about money, so they didn't know how to talk about it themselves. Either way, not talking about money with your kids means they never learn how to manage money. All in all, the copy's not terrible, but again, I do question, like, is this the right angle?
This isn't where you want to start. This would work much better as like an about me section.
Yeah.
Like for the guru, like after you've... So general,
That's
my
exactly
approach
where I was going with
to
that.
every piece of long copy is you start with a big promise, you address pain points, and then you talk about the solution and the benefits, and then you before you're like, I'll go into detail in the proof. Basically, you tease the proof and you say, but first let me introduce myself. That's when you go into this personal story about how you discovered the solution, and then that transitions nicely into talking about the specifics of the solution, which is the proof, either the data, the testimonials, and then the specific benefits and how they're going to directly improve the prospect's life.
Warren, what Oren just gave you, Warren and Oren, Oren just gave you was gold. And anybody watching that, I want you to sort of rewind the tape and go over what he just did. Because here's the thing. If this is a free workbook, you could probably get away with this. Because again, the friction to sign up for something free is so minimal.
Zero.
It's basically zero. Everybody does it all the time. But if you're trying to sell somebody a membership to something, well, you have to, it's angles of approach. You have to approach the, atmosphere a little bit differently, or you'll burn up, or you'll bounce off. So, this, for me, does not work because it doesn't immediately address what is in it for me. Why should I care?
But once you get them to care, then they're going to want to know why they should believe you. And then that's where your personal story comes in that builds your credibility. Like, I was just like you. I didn't know anything about money because my parents didn't tell me. But then I learned this way, and now I'm going to share that with you.
Yeah. Yeah, there are no classes how to wind up in debt for life.
There could be if you renamed your course.
Yeah. But here's the thing, like this would be like at the end of a cred section, a really good transition where you start spitting facts. Like how many people have credit card debt? How many people are going to delinquency right now? How much debt there is in the world? Like this is a good transition to actually proving that what you're saying
is
means
true.
Something is true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and if you keep going on like without actually speaking in facts, the more people are going to be suspicious of what you're saying. They'll think you're faffing off. He and I both come from niches where every single word, like if you say water is wet, you need to prove it. And that's both for the regulatory purpose and also because people, when they buy stuff, naturally are looking for reasons to disbelieve you. And so if you state things like this, you have to hammer home, agitate the problem, if you will, why this matters, why this is important. So I don't think we need to carry on with that. What's included? Thing 1, thing 2, thing 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
FAQs are great, by the way.
FAQs are good.
Always have an FAQ.
Especially in an offer section. Absolutely. So, yeah, this is suffering from a structural problem, especially if you are selling something as opposed to giving something for free. I don't think we need to talk about it anymore. Warren, do you have any questions for us? I think we have time for one more thing. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right. We got through a fraction of the number of people who submitted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. So how about we look at this. This is an Upwork profile.
Oh, hey, you wrote this one.
It's other Sean.
There's only one. Oh, wait, no. There's a lot of Seans.
There's too many Seans. Let's look at this one, and then I want to look at this sales letter that says "Fucker Boy 9000 sales letter."
Love it. I'd read that sales letter.
That we're going to read that sales letter.
I'm assuming that's for a sex robot.
We'll find out. Stay tuned on Copy That. Will we be reviewing the sex robot copy?
Or will we be lighting uranium on fire?
True. Let's not do that. All right. We have a you pour yourself another glass, and then I'm going to read this Upwork profile. Hi there, I'm Sean. I'm the only copywriter who uses both NLP and conversion copywriting along with direct response marketing to help get you the highest ROI possible.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's probably not true.
Besides that, I don't like where this is starting for a very simple reason. Good copy has to be you focused, not me focused. If you start with, hi, here's information about me, you lose people immediately. But, hi there, I'm Sean, and you can then segue into like, I help businesses grow and scale using a unique combination of NLP and conversion copywriting.
Truer and more persuasive.
There you go.
Also, along with direct response marketing. No, this is direct response marketing. You don't need to include that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those. Well, I mean, here's the thing. You're talking to Upwork, so you're talking to fairly unsophisticated people who like are looking for buzzwords, but may not necessarily be aware of the difference between this and this. There is none. There is none. Like here's the thing. If somebody on Upwork is looking to hire a copywriter, they've maybe heard of conversion copywriting. And so if they see that, it specifically calls it. It's like SEO keywording.
Yeah. There's still probably a way to word it like you were talking about where you can separate those and say like, I'm a direct response marketer who uses NLP and conversion copywriter in a unique way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just hate that putting putting it all together. It's like a sloppy sandwich.
Without reading this, I already know what it's doing. Oren, how do you feel about explaining in copy?
The only thing you should explain in copy is why they should give you money.
There you go, guys.
Should never explain a concept or a topic or an idea. The only time you should ever like reveal the mechanism, and I'm using this is precise language, you reveal the mechanism behind something and why it works because you're proving that that thing is going to benefit the reader.
There
you never actually explain anything. So you can delete all of this and you talk about how NLP is going to increase their business's revenue.
Yeah, we can just make it simply. With NLP and conversion copywriting, your prospect is targeted in their current stage of awareness so that the rest of your content. Yeah, there you go. Easy. We just delete these two things and we connect this to this. And we not only have we made the copy better, we streamlined it, we've made it more effective, and also like we don't lose the person reading this when they're just like, I don't care about this. Why should I care about this? So, anyway, avoid over explaining in your copy, and if possible, avoid explaining at all. This.
Yeah, okay. You should. If you're in a position where you have to explain something, such as revealing the mechanism behind something of why it works, you should do it in as little space as possible, using as little technical terms as possible. Try to explain it like you're explaining it to a child.
Yeah.
And try to do it in just a couple sentences, if not less.
Yeah, and there's also other ways to like frame it rhetorically as well. Like, for example, like in a lot of my copy where it's specifically like Vega-based option trading strategies, like you have to explain volatility. And so you have to use the word volatility. And so oftentimes what I'll do is I'll say, now if you don't know what volatility is, don't worry. You know, you're allaying the concern. Don't worry. Volatility is simply just a price point moving around very quickly. Yeah. And so you're explaining it as though you might a child or a dog.
Yeah. And you can do the hand waving of, you don't need to know.
You don't even need to know
the only thing you need to know is this one soundbite.
Exactly.
Like what
But
Sean
you don't need to know what this means to make money.
Right,
is a very common one you'll see in financial copy. So, anyway.
I would like to draw your attention to this bottom line on the page. Something that...
You guys having whiskey?
Well, yes, we are. But no, I've been certified by AWAI. Somebody who knows more about AWAI than
the average fare.
Most humans.
Yeah.
Does that certification actually mean anything?
So, here's the thing. For an unsophisticated audience, like, I have been certified by one of the biggest international copywriting training associations, AWAI. So that for me, like, would be a reframing thing. If a person is familiar with AWAI, you lead with that.
Yeah.
If somebody's not familiar with it,
you lead with the credibility. Yeah.
Exactly.
And also, you wouldn't say they are the gold standard. You would say AWAI, the gold standard.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, like, again, like, what we're talking about there is like a subtlety of language thing, where depending upon a person's awareness of the concepts that you're talking about, you would reframe and reorder the words and clauses in a sentence to more effectively communicate what you're trying to get across to the audience. That's going to be one of those things where it's like most of the people watching this now or 10,000 years in the future are not really going to fully appreciate or understand what I'm saying. But like, when I'm writing copy, I'm very conscious and very cognizant of word order. Word order is extremely important when you are trying to get somebody to read something and stay hooked through something. So, keep that in mind. So, I also write e-newsletters, write persuasion landing pages, PPC ads. And I'm a second generation mentee of one of the world's most successful copywriters and coaches of his time.
So does that mean he wasn't mentored by Clayton Makepeace?
That would be what I would pick up from there. But it's one of those things where it's like, is this worded it like cleverly enough?
I think it's clever enough. I think it hides the fact that his actual mentor was someone like John Newton, who was one of my mentors too, and he's a great mentor. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But obviously, Clayton Makepeace has more name brand recognition.
Yeah, true. So I know I am. Oh, don't put this.
Yeah, don't. Definitely don't. Never raise an objection that your audience doesn't already have, because if they're reading this, they're like, "Oh, this guy seems good," and they're like, "I know I'm new." They're like, "Oh, he's new? Well, I don't." Like,
I'm expanding my services to Upwork.
If think about it like this: if a surgeon is talking to you about a surgery you need, and they're like going through like all the ways they're gonna like fix your bones or your liver or whatever, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and they're gonna be like, "No, I'm pretty new." You're gonna be like, "Whoa." Like, I was on board until then.
Yeah. So, if somebody asks you directly, like, "Hey, are you new?" you can answer honestly and say, "Yes, however, I have all these accolades."
New to the
behind.
platform.
I'm new to the
not
platform.
new to copywriting.
Yeah, there you go. So I would
just delete the whole line.
Just delete that. Yeah, again, like, this is just what would I know what Clayton Makepeace would actually say here? You're selling from your back foot. This is an example of what Clayton would say as selling from your back foot.
And instead of that line under it, like, you can search my LinkedIn, just link your LinkedIn profile. Like, just be like, if you want to see more of my credentials, check out my LinkedIn profile, my personal website, my portfolio, etc.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't need that.
Selling from the back foot, that's perfect phraseology. I never actually studied Clayton, which is interesting, seeing as John was one of my early mentors. But
yeah.
If you ever, like, this is like negotiating against yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you're taking a problem that isn't there, and you're starting on defense, right? Like, you're assuming somebody's going to question, like, your credibility or your experience level or whatever, and so you're trying to address it, but they haven't questioned it.
Yeah.
And they're also it's more like you're expecting them to attack it more than question it.
I think one of the things that this copy is revealing to me is a confidence problem.
Yeah, 100%. You know what solves every confidence problem?
Is booze. But one of the things that I would say here is that I can clearly see this and see overtly, obviously, that this person who wrote this has a confidence problem. The people who go to your Upwork profile and read this, they're going to pick up on that too. If you... Oh my god, am I channeling Kyle Milligan right now? If you go to a bar and you're trying to... Let's do a little bit of gender bending so it's not sexist.
Another dude.
If you're trying to bang another dude, you're not going to be like, "Listen, I'm actually pretty bad in bed, and I'm new to this whole gay sex thing."
Well, you would say that if you were doing it.
Or would I? Anyway, so what you want to do is, like, I see what you're trying to do here, but ultimately, like, you don't want to give people reasons not to reach out to you. You don't want to give people reasons not to hire you. When you sit down to write your Upwork profile, you are a person who solves problems. That's it. End of story. So leave it at that. I'm a person who can solve your problems.
It's especially interesting when you're talking about NLP in the first part, and then you're subconsciously programming them to not trust you in the second half. It's like you're using your own skills against yourself.
Oh no, that's the worst thing to do in copy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I revise this. Really focus. Like, even if you do not feel confident, frame it differently so that you seem confident. Because here's the thing. You would not be putting this out there into the world if you did not feel you could solve problems for businesses. So fucking act like it.
That's a great point. Another, just a good exercise you can do if you struggle with that, because let's be honest, a ton of people struggle with self-confidence, self-esteem, all that stuff, self-worth, imposter syndrome. Write if you have to write copy about yourself, write it about somebody else instead. It could be potentially a lot easier to talk up somebody else's accomplishments and successes and credentials than your own. And then you just and then after you write it, you just change it to be about you. Like you just swap things in and out. Like if you were gonna be like describing like the coolest like musician to your friend or whatever, like you could use that as a framing device.
All right, I can already tell that this is gonna be a fun one.
This is the kind of copy I used to write when I was first starting out.
Oh my goodness. So Sean, do you have any questions for us before we move on to how we're going to end this, which will probably get this particular stream demonetized? Maybe we should go, because one person did submit beforehand, and we should probably, just to be fair, look at that first, and then end with the Fucker Boy 9000.
Sure.
Yeah. I am unfortunately plagued with
penis enlargement copy.
Yeah, with penis enlargement desires.
Well, Sears does actually sell like one of their main products is a like nitric oxide supplement, which is like the natural Viagra. Yeah. So I have actually written some copy along those lines. And you know who else I got to write copy along those lines? Mike Saul.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's Saul perfect for that.
Writing about titanium erections.
Oh my god.
It was great.
Was it good? Good copy?
Oh yeah. Sears himself loved it.
Oh good. Good.
And then they didn't pay him, so he threatened to sue them. And then they paid him.
Why would they not pay him?
Because they had to pay out the settlement from the lawsuit, and they ran out of cash.
Oh.
And their accountant basically had to play this like game of whack-a-mole of like, who can I pay today? Who can I like stall on? He has the most stressful job in the whole industry.
The accountant for Dr. Al Sears?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Because like it's not up to him how much money they have. And they spend it really poorly in some areas.
Again, no more slander during this stream. I'm going to have to take this down, dude.
It's not slander. It's the truth.
It's libel. All right, some context. This is an advertorial for a children's growth supplement. So what is it going to contain? It's going to contain calcium and iron. Fish oil? Anyway, our ideal customer is a mom with a son who is short for their age. They are concerned about their child fitting in and possibly facing challenges in life due to their height. So just to explain how advertorial works, typically if you're trying to scale copy on the networks, Google, Facebook, Yahoo, etc., Taboola, Outbrain, things like that, they get a little squirrely if you were linking directly to sales copy, especially that makes big promises. And so typically what you'll see is that you'll link from a PPC ad to a piece of advertorial. And the advertorial is either like a bunch of teaser copy, like hyping people on a product and giving a little bit of information along the way, or just strictly editorially giving information and then soft pushing to the ad. Sometimes they'll even have advertorial that legit is just like a blurred out image of the VSL with just like a whole bunch of like just click here to see the secret message about like how to reduce your prostate size or something like that. That's a legit advertorial that I have seen. It was the laziest advertorial I've ever seen, and it worked really, really well. Anywho, so my son's classmates teased him about his height until he outgrew them in just 18 months. Okay. Intrigue. What do you think of that headline for advertorial in particular?
I think that's pretty good. maybe you could add a with this,
Yeah.
just to
Well,
kind of like
poor man's intrigue, but
Yeah.
like you do need something specific there to like until like a simple supplement helped him outgrow them.
just
in
something to
just
make
18
it
months.
clear like that this isn't. I'm not just bragging about my son. You know, like there's actually something in this for you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, yes. Anyway, it's no surprise that at one point my son was the smallest in his class. Good storytelling start. He's a picky eater, and I worried that a lack of nutrients was impacting his
Probably
growth.
was.
So this is a good example of what we were talking about before about leading with pain points. I can tell that this person put in the work to go actually research what moms are posting in Facebook groups or Reddit posts or forums about like how to get their kids to eat or like why their kids might be like short for their age. As a father of 2, soon to be 3, like this is an anxiety that parents have. So you did a very, very good job, in my opinion, of leading with this.
Knowing your audience.
Know your audience. So already good research. It's also worth stating, neither I nor my husband are very tall. I'm 5'2" and he's 5'8". And while we knew our son would not inherit towering genetics. So here's the thing. If you have to say this because the guru is going to make you say this, you got to say it. This would be more powerful if what you're saying is, now, this was unusual because my husband and I are very tall people. Do you understand the power that you get from saying, my husband and I are very tall, but my son is unusually short for his age? So this should not have been a plausible reason why he was too short. Again,
This makes it seem like it's reasonable for him to be short.
exactly. Like this makes it feel like, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like y'all are a bunch of midgets, and your kid should be a skinny mini.
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry, they prefer short people or dwarfs at this point.
If you're under 6 foot, can you even be called a man?
If you're under 6 foot, are you even allowed to vote? Is that even a thing? When I was on the dating apps, I mean, you remember this, but I listed my height as 5'13".
He crushed it on the
I
dating
crushed it
apps.
on the dating apps. Anyway. Oh, God, have I been drinking? Anyway. And while we knew our son would not inherit towering genetics, we were not ready for the issues his height caused at school. Does being shorter mean you cannot lead a happy life? No. But I was worried that being smaller in stature would affect his self-esteem. The sad reality is that shorter people, especially men, have it much harder in life. Guys, this is good storytelling copy. This is really, really good editorial. I would actually dare say this is very good advertorial. You know, like
So
if this
you just delete that second line and you're good. Like you delete this one right here, and then it kind of works for me.
Yeah. I agree. If we just condense it down to this paragraph and this paragraph, I think that's much more powerful.
I would say, does being short mean you can't live a happy life?
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't lose anything for me.
I would agree. Now, here's the thing. Again, if you're trying to disclose the truth, if your client is insisting that you have to say this, you gotta say it. Don't say things that are not true. Do not present things that are not true. There you go. But that being said, if you're just throwing this out there to throw this out there, and like it's not necessarily true, you're just like saying it to like frame it weirdly, I don't think that's working. And I would suggest focusing on that paragraph and that paragraph, and that's very strong advertorial. Yeah, no, whoever wrote this, good work, absolutely. And yes, at the bar talk, absolutely, very, very smooth. The sad reality is that shorter people, especially men, have it much harder in life. So this would be an example of like a call out or a quote box. There was a special name for this way back in the day, like old school copy, like printed copy.
Pull out quote?
Well, pull out quotes is for like a quote that's sort of special. If this was at the very, very top, it would be called a Johnson box. But I forget the name for this emphasis box in particular.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I love the phrase Johnson box though.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Johnson box, if I recall correctly, and I could be wrong, is where you use a pull-out quote or something like that in a box, and then you lead with it. So, but if I'm wrong, and this is technically a Johnson box as well, then I'm wrong. Good job. The call from school that changed everything. I was at work when I received a call from my son's school. The principal explained my son had been cornered by a group of boys bullying him about his height, with one going as far as pushing him to the ground. Rushing to his school, I couldn't stop thinking about how long he'd been bullied. Halfway on our drive home, I gently asked him, "How long has this been happening?" Looking down, he replied, "A while," and he didn't say another word. How could I allow this to happen? I thought to myself. I was sure he'd trust me enough to tell him what was going on. Later that night, I searched if there was anything I could do to help him grow. While I used to believe height was determined almost entirely by genetics, I discovered a group of people that completely debunked that theory. What do you think about that? Here's the thing. I think in terms of storytelling,
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Very, very solid copy in terms of like advertorial copy. Great storytelling copy. This transition felt a little rocky to me.
It's a little rocky.
It's a little rocky because here's the thing, like,
because you have this. I was sure he'd trust me enough to tell me what was going on, and then you have a time jump.
Yeah. What was going on? So the time jump doesn't make sense to me. I would even I would just cut that. Just cut that sentence. I don't think that sentence needs to be there.
Yeah, I agree. How could I allow this to happen?
I thought to myself later that night, I searched if there was anything I could do to help him grow. This feels a little off for me. And I don't know what it is. Now, Marcos, if you're watching this, which you seem to be, when you have done your IVOC data, when you've done your research, do you find that there are a lot of moms of short kings who they are actually searching for ways to increase their children's height? Is that something that people are actively searching for? While we're waiting for Marcos to respond.
They do.
They do. Then, here's the thing. Then, my concerns are allayed, usually supplements. And that... Interesting.
I think it's fine. I don't know that there's anything, like, inherently wrong with it.
Yeah.
I think it could be improved if you kind of connect that better with... how can I allow this to happen? I thought to myself. I was sure I was doing everything, to give him enough nutrients to be healthy, but clearly something wasn't right. So I started searching, and I eventually found this. I started trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, and that's when I found this group.
Yeah. But for me, like that, it still makes way more sense if it's tall people who are parents of a shorty. You know what I mean? Like, okay, here's the problem with critiquing copy that's already pretty good. Oftentimes, the problems are not themselves. Like,
it's conceptual problems.
It's conceptual. It's subtlety of language problems. It's like other copy that we've reviewed tonight. It was very clear, like, all right, this is just structured wrong. All right, this is broken. This sentence sucks. Yada, yada, yada. Here, it's hard to pin down precisely what's going on. But it's like, are you feeling it as well as me? Like, there's something wrong with this transition.
Yeah, it's a little clunky.
It's clunky. But, like, I can't give you the exact words at this point that would tell you exactly how to fix it.
Because you have to think about it and work through a few different iterations and maybe workshop it a little bit on ChatGPT.
Yeah. I would go back to this part.
It's not rushed. That's not the problem with it.
Yeah. There's just something wrong here. I'm reminded of Stephen King on writing, where he suggests, like, if you send out your work for critique and you have people that say, oh, you should do this and change this into this, you should ignore those people. But if you get feedback that where it was like, oh, I wasn't sure about this section, or like this section felt a little off to me and I wasn't sure how to phrase it, those are the sections where you need to really revisit and really carefully craft and really revise. And like here, like, maybe it's a case of referred pain. Referred pain is where, like, maybe the problem is earlier on in the section or coming from somewhere else, and it's here where it's becoming apparent. But there's something going on here that I don't like. Sorry to linger so much, but like this is the first thing that I've really seen that where I was like,
I think the conceptual approach that I would take to this is to just how could I allow this to happen? I thought to myself is a good starting point to get into the journey of discovery, like how she went from my son's having problems at school to, okay, I need to find out a solution for this, and then I discovered the solution.
Yeah,
that would do it for me.
From one of the shortest in Europe to the tallest in the world, the Dutch went from standing on average 5'5" to towering over everyone else at just above 6 feet on average. What really surprised me was that it all happened in just 200 years. Amazing what nutrition will do. And also trade with the world.
Yeah.
And also tulips. Tulips will do that to you. And while that might sound like a lot of time, 200 years isn't long enough for genetics to change. Those kinds of changes usually happen over 1,000 years or so. So what gives? How did the Dutch go from one of the shortest to tallest people in the world? When I dove deeper, I discovered their growth was attributed to just 3 things. By the way, this is a good example of what we were talking about before of like how to explain stuff in copy. None of this, all this is like teaching things, but none of it feels like you're explaining something. It's pretty elegant. It's pretty good. What do you think? Are you shocked? Are you amazed now that the Dutch grew so quickly in just 200 years?
200 years feels like a long time to me. So,
there you go. There's your objection.
The average person isn't gonna know how long like these changes typically take.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna know that 200 years is short versus long.
Can I give you a different set of language that you could potentially use here to communicate effectively the same thing? A few generations.
Beautiful.
There you go. It all happened in just a few generations. Done. Because that technically is only a few generations. So, there you go. So what gives? How did the Dutch go from one of the shortest to the tallest people in the world? When I dove deeper, I discovered their growth was attributed to just 3 things. Was attributed, I do not love. I discovered their growth came down to just 3 things. Yeah. Was attributed is an example of passive voice that doesn't work very well.
It's also an example of using a $10 word where a $1 word will do just fine.
Yeah, it's, when we're writing copy, we're not talking about the policeman in the automobile, we're talking about the cop in the car.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. I love that.
That's from Aaron Getzler.
Oh. Yeah. He's a smart guy.
He's a smart dude.
I wish I had more time to
interview and copy that channel. It was actually one of the most recent interviews. The one before Kim Schwam. Anywho, calcium-rich diets. A diet jam-packed with calcium, made possible by advances in dam building. Dams turn Dutch marshes into farmland, meaning more grass for grazing cows, and cows are what make a calcium-heavy diet possible. Improved immune systems. As farming increased the country's wealth, it led to a better healthcare system and healthier children. Kids' bodies could now focus their energy on growing rather than fighting off illnesses. Better sleep. A wealthier and healthier population meant families now had more stable lives and children had more consistent sleep. Better sleep meant their children were now producing more HGH, the primary hormone responsible for growth. So far, so good.
Fun fact, if you have a kid who actually suffers from dwarfism, they can get HGH injections.
And then you could steal their HGH injections and become
gains.
A bodybuilder. Anyway, turns out that while genetics play a large role in height, external factors influence.
Could influence. That's.
This is a sentence that
has typos.
It's clear that you didn't proofread this.
Yeah.
Everything else up to this point has been pretty solid, but
yeah.
What's going on here, man? What the hell? Drop the ball.
I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this sentence.
Yeah. The new best secret, the Dutch growth trifecta. New best tall 10 plus is a supplement that has So when you're trying to add emphasis, you can actually remove that emphasis with contractions. This is, again, like, if this copy were bad, we'd be talking about other stuff. But because the copy is pretty good, we're being a little bit more nitpicky than usual. We're talking about, like, the fineries of language. When you're doing something like this, new best tall 10 plus is a supplement that has taken the internet by storm, is more powerful than that's taken the internet by storm. Just a small thing.
Something, in my opinion, that would be even more powerful is just saying new best tall 10 plus has taken the internet by storm.
There you go.
It's a supplement that's been featured on.
Or better, this supplement has been featured on
yeah.
major news outlets like Fox, Yahoo Finance, and NBC, and it's easy to see why. It contains calcium to support bone growth, but unlike other calcium supplements, it also contains essential super ingredients like collagen, eucommia bark, and polygonatum root to maximize the body's absorption of calcium. Pretty good. The next ingredient you'll find on the label is Poria mycelium. Poria is derived from a super mushroom. So if you're going to use super ingredients and then do super mushroom, you might want to switch up your ultra, mega,
Super Mario
mushrooms. Things like that. Again, it's sometimes repetition legitimizes. Other times repetition just becomes glaring.
A lot of the repetition you want to do in copy is rephrasing what you've already said in different terms.
Yeah.
So you're reiterating the same idea in slightly different words, and then that can help hammer home an idea. But if you say a super mushroom, a super mushroom, a super mushroom, they're only going to be thinking about the super mushroom and not what it actually does.
Yeah. Pretty much. But it's known in Japan for its immune-supporting properties. New Best Tall 10 Plus also contains Szechuan Lovage, another herb renowned in Eastern cultures for its immune support. Interesting. As the history of Dutchmen has shown, sleep crucial for growth.
I like that.
Sleep is Cro-Magnon copy. Sleep crucial for growth.
If you wrote all of your copy like a caveman, it would do better.
5 HTP in. 5 HTP ensure child gets sleep.
If you write your copy like that, it will do better than if you write it like somebody with an MFA in creative writing.
Fuck you. That's when we read it aloud, these errors become very clear and apparent. And so one of the things that you can do to very easily catch this stuff is to just read your copy out loud. It's something where it's like a lot of, like, it's clear that your copy is pretty good, but it's clear also that you're arrogant to the point where you're not sitting down and being like, all right, I know I have to read my copy out loud. So read your copy out loud.
Yeah, you'll catch those little, like, typos and stuff. Like, you only had one especially egregious sentence, that one, yeah.
Turns out that while genetics play a large role in height, external factors could influence as much as 40%. Read your copy out loud. God damn it.
You'll catch those.
You'll, like, when you start reading something, you're just like, oh my god, trying to read this out loud gave me a stroke.
Yeah.
Then you know to fix it. Anyway, but all this is generally pretty good.
Yeah.
You need some line editing, but that's it.
It's normal too. It's you shouldn't be embarrassed, Marcos. Like, yeah. This is normal stuff that happens. Even the best copywriters make typos. They put in stupid lines, sometimes intentionally. Not naming any names for once.
I was about to name some names. I'm not going to. So there you go. No. So hopeful that I could influence my son's growth, I decided to give it a try. What happened in the next 18 months was nothing short of a miracle.
Is that a play on words? Nothing short?
Puns.
It actually
nothing
works
short.
there. Was
Pun
nothing
not
short.
intended,
Because he's not short anymore, so it's nothing short.
There you go. Help your child reach their... If this was intentional...
reach their... Help your child reach the top shelf.
Yeah, there you go. So if these puns are intentional, very clever, ha ha ha, you're a genius. If they're not intentional, these are definitely something that you want to pay attention to. And maybe be like, do I want somebody reading this to
think you're taking the piss?
Yeah. So, things to keep in mind.
I think the average person who reads that, they're not, because
Yeah.
it's natural language. It's the way people talk. Like, people say, like, this is nothing short of amazing. Well, actually, I don't know if that's exact. That's how people write. I don't know if that's how people talk. Reaching their full potential, that's fine. Nothing short of amazing does kind of feel more like written
writerly speech
than spoken word.
Yeah. What happened in the next 18 months completely shocked me.
Yeah, I actually like that better.
Yeah.
Being shocked, that's very persuasive. People always want to know, like, they don't necessarily want to be shocked themselves, but they want to know what other people are shocked by.
Yeah, scandal is a magnet.
Voyeurism is a big pull in copy.
Absolutely. So, all told, I don't know if we need to keep reading this.
Probably not.
It's good.
Yes.
The copy is good. The testimonials, like, they're there.
Like you said, just needs line editing.
It needs line editing.
It doesn't need any major conceptual changes. Like, again, as with the last thing, like, this could go for Sears. Like, this is, like, good enough.
Yeah, Marcos, you give yourself a pat on the back, because you did a good job here. It, like, a lot of the issues that we were talking about are just, like, small little language stuff.
We're nitpicking.
And, like, honestly, if you submitted this, like, and, like, they would send it to a proofreader, and then they would fix all this stuff for you. But, like, in terms of, like, getting this, like, through the finish line, it's pretty good. Like, do a little bit of line editing, like, really carefully read your lines and be like, is this the way that I want to say this? Is this the correct way to punch it up? Felt pretty good when I wrapped this one up. Client liked it. We'll see how it does. So if you've already submitted it, then yeah, you'll see how it does, and yeah, it's good that your client liked it. I like it. So listen, report back and see how it does. Let us know if it gives a boost to conversions or increases click-through rate. But seriously, like, there's been a lot of good copy in this particular Whetstone Wednesday. I'm actually very proud of you guys. And I'm not proud of many people, especially not this guy.
Nope.
Jesus
I'm not proud of me either.
You shouldn't be.
Can we bleep some stuff in the recording?
No, unfortunately not, because this is alive and the recording just lives on YouTube. So, let's end here because it will get us demonetized.
And that's the goal for every stream.
The streams where I do it. So, do you want to know a fun thing? So, I do streams with Lindsey, Alex, Rod, and May, and we sort of cycle through. Lindsey, not so much recently because she's been so busy, but I discovered something looking at the analytics. I get the most views out of the different streams, the Whetstone Wednesday streams, but I also get the most unsubscribes.
That's good copy.
Alex gets in the middle in terms of views, not so many subscribes, but he gets the most likes. Rod gets the least amount of views, but he gets the most subscribes.
Interesting.
It's perfectly balanced in every single way. Where it's like we all complement each other in different ways. Sean is chaotic good. Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah. And so, like, I would say that I'm probably the most polarizing when it comes to the streams that I do. So, which is fine. I mean, after all, I'm excited to read the enhance your schlong to last for 12 rounds. Oh my goodness. It was a great stream. So many jumps backed into the... Yeah, I wanted to... Because I'm not going to be around until like late July, early August. And so hopefully hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. This is going to be the last piece of copy that we review, and yeah, I'm glad you all joined us today. I really appreciate you. Not you, but everybody watching.
I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah, giggity. We were talking about the anyway. We won't go there.
But
So-
we're here. We've already gone.
So they can't think of a name. This is the #1 certified PE enthusiast finally reveals the secrets on how to. So PE is penis enlargement. We're doing PE because it's compliant.
So are we treating this as this is joke placeholder copy, or is this actual copy for boner pills?
It looks like a full-on sales letter for boner pills.
Okay, because I have some experience copy chiefing that copy, if not writing much of it.
Man, you lead the way on this one.
Yeah.
You read it because I want to hear your insights into the dick pill copy.
#1 certified penis enlargement enthusiast finally reveals the secrets on how to enhance your schlong to last for 12 rounds without any exercises, invasive surgery, and snake oil supplements. Dear
I would change that to or.
yeah,
by the way.
definitely. And also, you wouldn't say schlong for a few different reasons. #1 is that you never actually. Oh, you commented you couldn't think of anything. You never actually have to mention. Like, there's a strong implication. All sexual performance copy, there's a strong implication you're talking about penises. So you don't actually have to say it. You just say last for 12 rounds without.
Yeah.
Like, you never really have to say enhance your penis. Like, you will talk about the penis in the copy,
Yeah.
but you don't ever have to say enhance your penis.
Yeah.
And also, lasting for 12 rounds, it's not what these people want. What the audience for boner pills wants, these are old men
Yeah.
who can't please their wives anymore.
Yeah.
They want to feel powerful again. They want to feel young again. They want to make their wife
They want to
love
be
them
respected
again.
and loved by their
Yeah,
wife.
it's primarily all ego.
Well, it goes beyond that. Speaking from experience,
Doesn't go that far beyond.
no, it's a desire to feel desired,
Yeah.
and so many men wrap up their identity with their sexual virility, where if they can no longer get it up, they are no longer a man. And if they feel like they're no longer men, then they feel that other people looking at them feel that they are no longer a man.
Yeah.
And the people that they care about the most, the opinions of the people that they care about the most, those are the people that you want to frame the copy through.
Yeah. So to give some examples of like headlines we workshopped at Sears, one was reclaim your bedroom or reconquer your bedroom. It's also perform like a 30-year-old again.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's really you think along the lines of like this is a time machine.
Yeah.
To fuck like a teenager, basically. I think they even had a successful promo that was like screw like a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So that's really the angle you want for this type of copy.
One of the best promos that I've ever seen for dick pills. Not that I actively go looking at copy for dick.
Alexa.
Alexa, play Careless Whisper.
Alexa, delete my search history.
I think it was the Stephen Georgi promo where it opened with like two people in an African like tribe, and the opening line was like, "My wife opened her mouth with a gasp. John, can you believe the size of their dicks?" That's how that promo opened, and it all went on and on, where the speaker was clearly, or at least audibly, becoming flustered by the fact that his wife was so impressed by the dicks and the dick growth secret that this particular tribe had. And so it was all about framing things through the man looking at the wife, being impressed by these huge dicks and feeling inadequate vicariously. Yep. Brilliant copy.
Yeah.
If you're trying to sell dick pills to older men.
Which is probably the only people you want to sell them to.
You don't want to sell it to young women.
Or to young men.
Or to young men.
They're just dripping testosterone.
Yeah.
But when they hit 50 and that the faucet turns off.
When they hit 35.
And their hair falls out.
I'm having too much fun. Anyway, dear friend, imagine if this happened to you. Both you and your wife, covered in sweat from French kissing repeatedly, are having the most passionate and intense sex after abstaining for a whole week. Too much going on in that sentence.
Yep. Married people don't French kiss.
Yeah. I mean, not after you're 7, but anyway. Covered in sweat from French kissing, are having the most passionate and intense sex after abstaining for a whole week. Let's count the prepositions. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is just a Shawnee Mac staple for Whetstone Wednesday streams. Preposition stacking. It's confusing. If you are adding clause after clause after clause after clause using prepositions, your copy is going to be confusing.
Yeah. If you have multiple things, like each sentence should only have like one action, basically, as best as you can help it. Like this thing happened, this thing happened, this thing happened, rather than they all happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, the first 3 sentences reads like softcore erotica. I like some use of metaphor here, which is actually good, but you don't need to spend this much time talking about to release a whole generation. That's great, but you don't need any of that.
No. What would be a better way to open this?
Well, what you can do is you can condense those 5 lines down to 2. Like, imagine if you're in bed with your wife, and then as you're about to finish, you realize your wife is unsatisfied, but you're down for a week. Like, you don't need to. The storytelling in the last example, where it's like all about how like her son wasn't growing, like this isn't that same kind of storytelling. This is, you're describing a porno, and it's not actually really getting anywhere until the 5th line, where you're saying your wife who looks a bit unsatisfied bites her lips and spreads her tunnel. It's that part. It's behind the microphone.
Which part?
Spreads her tunnel. Bites her lips and spreads her tunnel in the hopes of getting.
Goodness.
First of all, old women don't do that. That's not how old people have sex. So that's part of the problem.
Okay, step 1 for market research: go have sex,
and then have sex with some old people, so you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Right. Old people's bodies don't work great. The type of sex they're having is going to be minimal. It's going to be efficient. And it's going to preserve energy and life force.
Minimal hip torque.
Yeah, like remember your target audience is 55 to 85-year-old men. Like these are not guys who are in the picture of like physical stamina or health. They're not looking to go multiple rounds, and they're not having explicit pornographic sex. They're rolling over on top of their wife and then rolling back off after 2 minutes. Like it's quick and it's infrequent. So what you want to say is, imagine that you don't want them to imagine the negative. They know the negative. They like Mark Ford. This is the best piece of advice he ever gave me was that they'll buy the problem on the first page. What they want to hear about is the solution. Yeah. So you don't want them imagining like the bad. They've already experienced. They know what that's like. You want them to imagine the good. Like imagine if this happened to you. Like you just had sex with your wife, and then she's like, oh man, that was so good, and you're like, are you ready to go again? Like that's more like compelling than like it's more persuasive. It's more what they want than oh no, like I couldn't perform and I couldn't make my wife come. Like that's not the emotion you want them feeling when they read your copy.
So I mean, I do feel that like opening with a pain point or opening with a problem like that can work. I actually, so this is real copy that I've always wanted to write a dick pill promo, and this is how I've wanted to open it, and it's sort of more or less along these lines. She looks down, and it's happened she looks down. This has happened before, but nothing can prepare you for what comes out of her mouth next. Again, she says, with disappointment dripping from her lips.
See, that's great. Because you're not describing a very specific sex scene that an old man hasn't experienced in 50 years. You're describing an emotional experience that's hurt their ego, and they're looking for a solution to it. And then you immediately go like, but imagine if she said this instead.
Yeah. And
then you go into the solved state that your supplement gives. Yeah. And like stuff like this line towards the bottom, no matter how, it just won't get up no matter how hot and erotic she looks. A 75-year-old woman looks neither hot nor erotic.
Well, now let's not go there.
She could be elegant, she could be beautiful, she could be stately. She's
okay, go on, please. But that was really funny.
she's not, she's not the picture of conventional beauty that you see on social media or in a movie star. Like, so, like what Sean was describing was talking about the emotion, not the look, not the feel. Like, you don't describe the physical experience; you describe the emotional experience.
Yeah,
and that's a big difference between delivering information and writing copy.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I'm glad that we're ending on that too, which is like, we talked at the beginning of this stream about like the difference between like reporting what's going to happen versus writing copy. Like, why are people going to hire you? They're not going to hire you to like report stuff. They don't need you for that. Not anymore anyway. And then for this, like, sorry, like, this isn't it either, fam. The whole point of copy is to be a sort of transparent lens into people's emotional states and a view of a desired self and a bridge to get there. And if you can provide that in your copy, you've won the game. And the whole point of architecting messaging is to provide that lens to a desired self. So a lot of this, unlike, like, for example, the previous advertorial, I don't know if this has the same level of effort that's been put into, like, the IVOC data or the customer research or the demographic research. I think you might actually have to go and talk to a few old people about sex and be very, very candid about it.
That's one way to do it, or there are people who have done that already, and you can read their research. There's this great story, I can't remember if I read it at Sears or at Golden Hippo, but there was a guy who's a great copywriter, and he went around and literally interviewed, like, he got the mailing list of guys who had ordered boner pills from this one company, and he went around interviewing the guys and asking them why they bought the product. And, like, that's what a lot of the copy was based on that Sears wrote after that. It must have been Sears. But, yeah, like, people already did that legwork, so you don't have to, thankfully.
Yeah.
Because it can be uncomfortable to ask your grandpa about how his dick works.
I mean, not for me, but for other people. Yeah.
Different folks. But the point is, like, this research exists. It's important to be familiar with it. And if you can't get enough of it from just researching on the internet, then you do need to talk to people in person or over the phone. One thing I strongly suggest is to subscribe to Sears mailing lists, subscribe to other mailing lists that sell similar products, because the people who are selling the most boner pills, they're writing copy about it, and the copy is working.
Yeah.
And Sears has sold a lot of boner pills, so that copy has worked in the past, and probably continue to work.
Listen, if you're going to a supplement business and if you sell generic boner pills, you're probably going to make money. So, anyway.
Reading more of this is still erotica. Like, if you want to write erotica novels, don't change a word. Like, this is great erotica. I think. I wouldn't honestly.
No, like, erotica novels, like, you need, like, a slow... Like, it needs to be the longest undressing of a person's life.
Right. So you need some preamble. But, like, this is probably a good sex scene.
Oren, did I just teach you about foreplay?
Wait.
What?
What's that?
Anywho. So, ultimately, what I'm trying to say here, what Oren is trying to say here, too, is that this isn't really working as a lead. It's not. It's
You've literally written a sex scene, and then you say at the end, that's a wrap. Like, look, scroll up one more line. And cut, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've literally written a sex scene.
I think the problem here is that you just need to study and break down more boner pill copy.
Yep.
You know, like, do it in private so that other people don't see it over your shoulder.
Or do it on public transit.
Do it on public transit where everybody can see.
Yeah.
Read as much boner pill copy as possible.
Read it out loud.
Read
on
it
the
out
subway.
loud on the subway. But yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot else we can say here. That, you know, the copy, you just need to condense it and really focus on, like, people's pain points, and you really need to focus on, like, segueing and proving out your ideas, and, you know, providing evidence that the solution that you have is worth paying attention to. So,
yeah,
building a little bit more intrigue, a little bit, you know, using more open loops too, I think is going to help to keep people reading. Because right now, again, like, right now it does kind of feel like a prank. Let's be real. So, anyway, I think that constitutes a stream. I think
that is one of the streams of all time.
That is, I'm glad we ended on the boner pills.
Yeah.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that I didn't get to. If I have time in the coming days, I'll do written comments in the Discord. But is there any other questions that you guys have for Oren or me before we sign off for the night and go have dinner? Do you have any questions for me?
Public questions? No. Questions about your penis? Yes.
Especially after that promo.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
That's all I can think about now.
I mean, you're not the only one. Truthfully. Guys, if you don't have any questions, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you all learned something. I hope that those of you who submitted copy and got your copy reviewed, that you are able to make it better and you're able to get to the next level the next time you revise. But yeah, ultimately, thank you all very much for your time, for your attention. I wish you well, and yeah, I will see you in like 2 months.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, we will do this again. So maybe, like, it would be fun to, like, have you on, and then maybe have, like, Kyle on too, and, like, get a bunch of guests.
Yeah, so, why don't you come to Florida in July? We can do a thing.
Yeah, sounds good. Guys, take care. Adios. Yeah, 2 months. I'm going to Japan. So that's it. That was the stream.
That was the stream.
That was it. I'm gonna end the stream.
All right.
Get Oren on streams more. Yeah, we'll talk about, like, for my the financial copy product. We'll talk about you being a coach for that. So we'll figure it out. Bye, everybody.